Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Special Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of April 15th, 2026. And nice to see a full gallery. And I hear there's more people in the other room, so if you're hearing me, welcome. I'll speak up as well. There we go. Okay. My name is Ben Martman. I'm the area director for Northwestern the Diamond. They sometimes call me Director H. I'm also the chair of today's meeting. Just a quick review of the role of the chair, because as chair, my job is to make sure the directors around the table are heard, that procedures are followed, that we meet the requirements in due diligence to how we unfold meetings. So some of this may seem, I'll use the word bureaucratic, but very procedural is probably the best word. And so I'll do my best to explain things as we go along. For some of you, this might be very new. For us, well, I hadn't even got to put electronics on pause yet, but anyway, so that's my job here today, and also to make sure that we get through the business of the day so that you can walk away knowing what our decisions are. So with that, before I get started, I'd just like to do a land acknowledgement and recognize that the CVRD is on unceded territories of the Kwatsan, Malahat, Sabasit, Halalt, Penelakut, Stimanis, Liaxin, Pachitan, Didadat, and Pachidat nations, whose people have walked here gently for thousands of years. All the directors are present here today, and if you have electronics here among directors or in the gallery, if you don't mind putting them on mute or vibrate, that would be great. The other piece is just understanding of this is a committee. We are of the directors of the electoral areas. We make recommendations to the board. So recommendations that we make will go to the next board meeting on April 22nd. So you hear the recommendations come forward from here. And so that's how this sort of unfolds. We'll have a final decision at every board meeting. But this is a committee at work. So to make that committee work, we have a parliamentarian next to me who helps me with the procedures. And we also go through a bit of an agenda, and typically for the public involvement on that agenda, it's at 2 points. One is at public input, which is coming up shortly, and then at the very end, which you can state your opinion on something that's on today's agenda. And at the end, we have public or question period, which is allowing to come up and ask 2 questions on something related on today's agenda. So I'll do my best to make sure that you have the best opportunity to come up and speak your mind on the agenda or ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer those. So before we get to public input, actually, let's go to public input first. I find public input something helps me to set the table and set the stage for today's meeting. So with that, Mr. Robbins, yep, we'll go to. Yeah. Can we do sound check, please?
For online participation.
I just have staff online.
Okay, because I think there might be a sound issue from the.
Could I have somebody that is online, Tracy, Allison, or Coralie, to just turn on your video to indicate to us here in the boardroom that you're receiving us? You can hear us? Thanks, Coralie.
So we can hear okay? So with that, I guess I better do the right thing and call the meeting to order. So Mr. Robbins.
Thank you. Then we'll move right into public input period.
Okay.
Would you like me to read out the preamble?
Adoption of agenda?
Or did you do the adoption of the agenda?
I haven't done it.
You called to order.
Yes, I did. There we go. Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So move to agenda. Seconder, Director Morrison.
Just thought the chair might consider extending the public input period to 30 minutes.
Have a seconder? All in favor? We have now a 30-minute public input period. Thank you, Director Morrison. So with that, Mr. Robbins?
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Robbins. I'm the corporate officer. And so we just have a bit of a preamble just before public input period. The public input period is to offer the public an opportunity to comment on an agenda item before the committee considers the item. The public input period procedure policy allows for allotment of 15 minutes, but by way of motion, this committee has extended that to 30 minutes, where the speaker is welcome to comment on any item on the agenda up to a maximum of 3 minutes. This, of course, excludes items that are or have been subject of a public hearing. Input from the community is valued and appreciated, and we simply request that input is presented in a friendly and respectful manner. Your cooperation in maintaining a safe, respectful, and orderly environment is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And so because we have 2 rooms, the way we did this last time is that if we can get a bit of a lineup going behind the speakers so that we alternate from room to room, so everybody gets equal opportunity. And a reminder that if you hear something that really resonated for you, it's okay to say ditto and add another point in there. So we try to get through as many people as possible. We would like to hear from as many as we could in 30 minutes. So with that, I invite the first person to come to the microphone and press the button on the bottom. Just say your name and where you're from. Be appreciated. It's okay. I need them too. So there's a red button or gray button at the bottom, I think. Yeah, and the red light's on.
All right, am I live?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kyle Sheppeldayoff, and I live just south of Duncan, and thank you for letting me speak again today. After my last speech 2 weeks ago, hundreds of messages reached me from across the Cowichan Valley, and that response brought me back today. I hope you're all watching and listening, because last time I don't feel like some of you were. I moved to the Cowichan Valley in 2022 seeking homestead living. I lived in intentional communities, on farms, and alone off-grid. I've seen firsthand how people actually live across our Cowichan Valley. Hundreds, probably thousands of us live in RVs, park models, and tiny homes. We support the local economy. We grow food, and we raise animals. But we're all living in fear, hiding from authorities, feeling like we're always doing something wrong. It's hypocritical to push for more housing and dense population in the cities through urban containment boundaries, while cracking down on those of us living the simple and nature-based homestead living across the Cowichan Valley. Both approaches can add population, but you seem to ignore the value of our current situation. The easy, affordable solution is exactly what so many of us are already doing. RVs, park models, and tiny home living. Yet instead of supporting it, you're threatening to take our homes away. This is a waste of time and resources and needs to stop. You all need to support who the residents of the Cowichan Valley actually are, not what your higher-ups want us to be. We all know what stress does to the body. Cumulative stress is worse. People here are already carrying heavy loads after COVID and current geopolitics. Now you're adding on the fear that bylaw officers could show up any day and take our homes away from us. As a psychologist, I can tell you this fear is already causing real physical and mental health problems throughout the CVRD. Please be aware, the problem isn't us. The problem is that your rules were never written for who we actually are. Repeal the new bylaw draft. Start over with real data. Survey us. Hold focus groups. Meet us where we are. Support the lifestyle that defines this valley. Remove this unnecessary stress. Show us you have our backs. Let us thrive, not live in fear. We ask that today you vote with the highest and best intent for all that you represent and end Bylaw 4710 and the OCP approved last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we can, we'll hold applauses or anything till the end because I want to get everybody through. So come on up, next person. And are we alternating people as best we can? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Just state, the microphone's on, so just state your name, where you're from, please.
Hi, I'm Keith Christie in Area F. I'm a farmer and a nurseryman, And I'd just like to second what the previous speaker said. That was very eloquent. Good for him. I also am a small farmer and a nurseryman. Been living here for 38 years. Doing quite well without all these bylaws, et cetera, et cetera. We just like to be left alone to do something positive. And I would encourage the directors to support Mr. Morrison's motion today and to listen to what Mr. Morrison has today. He's been a very good representative for our area for quite a long time. I personally am trying to donate a piece of land for Stocking Creek Park, and it's worth millions now. It's had a gas station on it, and environmental cleanup's been very expensive, but I'm just about through, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But Mr. Morrison was actually instrumental in getting the CVRD to approve my request for rezoning in exchange for giving my property. And I'm looking forward to doing that, but I'm hoping that I can do it with a positive outlook and in good faith. It should be done, ready to go by this fall, I've just learned, so it's sped up, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, anyways, let's try and keep it all positive if we can, and we can all try and do something benevolent for our area and for the next few generations. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Who's next? And your name and where you're from, please.
David Pink from Glenora. Excuse me. I've lived in the Cowichan Valley for 57 years, and never has anything quite so crazy as this come across our path. So I spoke at the public hearing for the OCP, and when I did, I presented two documents. The first one is called the Municipal Primer, based on the United Nations Conference on Environmental Development in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. This was put together by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment, otherwise known as Agenda 21. That's what they call this document. And this document was sent to every single elected municipal official and every single municipality or regional district in Canada. And it's suggestions, okay? Suggestions. And out of this, and then out of this, which is the UN's 2030, they published this, I believe, in 2015 or 2016, and Canada signed on. And this document was because Agenda 2021 was not going to happen by 2021. So this is the next version of it, and this is Agenda 2030, and they clearly state it's called Agenda 2030 right on the first page. So the conspiracy theories about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 are actually not conspiracy theories at all. I'm speaking in support of Director Morrison's what's it called? Motion, sorry. And I'm strongly recommending that every director at this table reads this and reads this in the start of that process, because that will give you a clear understanding of the foundation and, as a result, the education that's directed toward people who work in organizations like the CVRD. So planning schools teach from these two documents, or the basis of them. It's really important that everybody at this table who's making decisions about this community understands and has a full grasp of the foundational processes that all these people that when you refer to staff, they are using these documents and what's contained in these documents as the foundation from which they do the work you ask them to do. So we've already emailed these to everybody here at the end of the when I spoke at the OCP, but I would like to email them to you again, and I would like you to read them. They're not that long, and when you go through, you'll recognize the language that's used, that's also used in our OCP and in the CZB, and in transportation plans and all those other things that are being foisted upon us because of climate change. and other stuff. So anyway, I've probably eaten through my 3 minutes. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I really look forward to you guys, ladies, to be able to have a conversation with you about these two documents, because they are absolutely paramount to making it look different than it already does. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And the next person, if you want to state your name and where you're from, please.
My name's Savannah Wright, and I'm from Area B. 3 minutes is not going to be nearly enough time, but I will do my best. There's a lot I want to express, like the most concerning, which are many parts of this CZB draft, like sections 7 through 8, which personally would radically alter my family's future regarding zoning and the changes that are proposed to remove second detached housing options. Or section 4.19 that attacks entrepreneurs and their home businesses, also threatening my family directly. Or the simply ridiculous section 4.5, which wants to reduce backyard chickens to a number that would hardly produce enough eggs for a small family, let alone a farm stand that is apparently still permitted in this draft. I especially take great offense and concern to the tone of this draft. When we look at the section 2.5, and I will quote, "Where this bylaw states more than one regulation that could apply to a situation, the most restrictive regulation shall apply." Pardon me. That's from the bylaw. It's not misinformation. Am I living on the same planet, and let alone the same valley, that whoever felt that was the best way to flex their muscles? Or how about from the same section, where as use is not listed within a table or within section 4.41, that use is not permitted within any zone listed. Again, pardon me. At what point did the CVRD start looking at every last one of us as if we were incapable of being decent human beings with good intentions and the ability to choose for ourselves while also considering our neighbors and our community? I am so greatly offended by this type of tone throughout this document, and it starts that way. I understand that there are individual situations and individual people within every community that cause problems or threaten the safety and well-being of those around them. We see it all the time through Duncan, and it's oozing out into the regional districts. But we cannot brush everyone with the same broad stroke. I don't know where I am. And assume that all are of ill intent. This is greatly disturbing language, not solely for what it implies, but also for what, that we are all bad people, not, sorry guys. This is greatly disturbing language, not only for what it implies, that we are all bad people and that need to be managed, but also for what it doesn't make clear. Vagueness in stuff like this is very, very alarming. Our valley is full of resilient, intelligent, good-hearted people who can be very creative and solution-based during hard times. And what section 2.5 basically says is that will not be happening here in the valley. I recognize that not everyone on the board is in opposition to the people that are here today and outside, but some are. There are some that are uninterested in listening and only interested in arguing their very narrow views. To those board members, I suggest you open your minds and your ears. People are not buying what you're selling anymore. It's shameful to minimize the real concerns of people are bringing up, concerns that are written in this bylaw draft. This is not misinformation, a politician's favorite word. It's directly from the 322-page draft. It doesn't just change very little. It can potentially destroy future plans, generational dreams like my family's, and alter the vibe of this valley. To anyone in this community that thinks this does not affect them, or it's not a big deal, or as bad as people are saying, do not be ignorant. Directly or indirectly, everyone will be infected by the ramifications of this draft. I personally want this draft thrown in the trash, not revised, not altered. I want it gone. We need less government in our day-to-day ongoings, not more. Why is this so hard to do? Just simply back off and back away. We will all be better for it. October 17th cannot come soon enough.
There we go. Thank you very much. And just before we continue, I went a little bit over on that one, but I think I'm trying to hit an average of 3 minutes. So if you guys can help me with that, that's great. Thank you.
My name's Monica, I live in Cobble Hill. I've just come today. I moved here about 2.5 years ago. I did grow up on the island, so I'm an islander and appreciate the uniqueness of being here. I think I just want to be philosophical and remind everyone of the Charter Rights and Freedoms, and that's why we love this country the way we do. When we look at the international climate, activity, hostility, toxic behavior, we definitely don't want to go there, and I'm picking up on a lot of toxicity from this whole procedure. It's unnecessary. My parents came from Europe in '56 and immigrated. My mother grew up with the Nazis. And we do not want to go down a slippery slope where our citizens are becoming upset and confused by what their elected officials are actually asking them to do. So I don't see a problem here. I moved because the 1880 Haney slide, if you just Google that, you can see why bylaws are very important, and they are actually being subjected to other matters that forced me to move because I didn't want to end up in the Fraser. So on a closing note, let's be kind to each other. Let's be civilized. Let's be patient. There's no rush here. There's a tremendous amount of culture. I've been so taken with the culture in this valley. I love driving down the road, getting fresh eggs. I absolutely like and love the energy. And it really is upsetting that I've left one hotbed and I'm stepping into another here that seems to have been very rushed and perhaps not well thought out. So happy taxpayers are happy people. It's good for the economy. It's a good thing. Let's stay on the high road. The view's better and it's a lot better for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Come up next and, yeah, say who you are and where you're from, please.
Hi, my name's Evan Jennings, currently in Glenora. My wife and I have been looking at other properties in the area, which we are very scared to do right now. This seems like the first step into a more Americanized HOA-style environment. And what I don't think many people have realized yet is the environmental, but the fiscal impacts if any of these things go through. All the farms will be running with no operating capacity. It's hard to sell product if you're not allowed to have it. And these are things that we've all come to love about Vancouver Island as a whole, but specifically this area. If we continue down this road, we're going to see micro communities, micro houses, one vehicle allowed per person. I don't think that's a great way to go. It takes away all of the freedoms that we love about this huge green area around us. We love our farmlands. We love our neighbors. All of the people that have horses currently, where are they going to put their horses? Or are we going to have to cull them all? Are we going to have to cull all of our chickens? What's the next step? It's a pretty scary slope we're on right now. All the small businesses that would likely have to close their doors. I don't see any positives in any of the pages I was reading. It's a very long list of topics, so I'll try and keep it generalized, but I haven't seen a single point that would benefit what we currently have. I understand if we were looking at it from a small townhome, not wanting to have 7 cars and a sea can stacked up, nobody wants to look at that when it's right over your fence. But when you're talking about 5, 10, 20, 100 acres, who are we hurting by having 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles and a tractor and a few cows, some sheep, chickens? 6 chickens is not enough for anyone to make any money off of. 4 chickens for a small house, okay, that sounds about right. 6 chickens up to 0.4 hectares, maybe. But then we draw the line there. It just seems wrong. So I implore everyone to think deep as to the impacts, the highly negative impacts that this would all have. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Evan. Anybody else like to come? Welcome. Just state your name and where you're from, please.
Anya Erickson. I'm electoral E on Wilson Road. I just want to voice my concern over what we're all here for today. I bought a farm with my husband in 2012. We had 2 young children. It was very important to us to teach our children and ourselves how to grow food. We've done everything from chickens to lambs, hogs, beef. I'm a beekeeper. I just have a very big problem with this bylaw, and sorry, I'm very nervous. We moved here for this very reason, to teach our children how to grow food that doesn't just come from a supermarket. All that's at stake now. The process of getting our animals slaughtered turned into be a nightmare logistically. The small flock farmers really have a tough go of it, and it's just progressively getting harder and harder to process our food. So much so that I think people are doing it themselves, and maybe that's not the safest way, but it's how it's been done. And I just felt I needed to come here and voice my concern. So I hope this doesn't get passed, and have a good day.
And Anya, thank you. And I want to point out to people, coming to the podium is not an easy thing to do, and I applaud everybody that does, and we're really listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's for your kids.
The microphone's on, so you can
Oh,
just
okay.
state your name and where you're from. And
Looking for the button to press. Okay, my name's Ruth Waddell, and I'm a resident and property owner on traditionally zoned rural residential property. I enjoy my zoning and did not request that it be changed. It suit myself, my family, and our lifestyle for close to 30 years. I studied the OCP from the very beginning, and the bylaws are the end result of that. So I'm going to just speak quickly. I'm going to not say most of the things I was going to say because others have. But I went to get the bylaw or the OCP before the November meeting, and it was not available. I sent a message to Alison Garner at the office, and she referred me back to the Plan Your Cowichan, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, but just
So I'm just going to say, because that's where the bylaw came from, and then I'm going to stop because
No, it's
everything else has
fine.
been said.
It's just
So
not,
the bylaw,
don't name staff.
the OCP was not
Okay,
there, so I
thank
could
you.
not prepare properly for the public hearing, and that is a spin-off to not be able to prepare for the bylaws that came out of it. So it is related. At any rate, I'm here to ask all of the directors to support Director Morrison's motion to rescind or to delay this. I'm not sure which terminology, but leave this and let the staff catch up with some of the outstanding applications that are here that people have been waiting for ages to get their projects going. And let's get this valley going again. It's just inertia. And people are just wandering around like deer in headlights, not knowing whether to do something or not do something or move. I'm just, I have other things that I'd like to say, but others have said that, so thank you.
And thank you very much. How are we doing for time? We've got 10 minutes left, so hopefully we can get most people through. Thank you. And
Hi.
your name and where you're from.
My name is Ashley Kozeries. I live in Shawnigan Lake. I am not a politician by far. This is the first time I've ever been to anything like this, but I wanted to share my personal story. I am a mother and a wife. I have 2 children, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I live in a tiny house on wheels. I've lived in a tiny house on wheels for 5 years. I gave birth in that tiny house. That tiny house is our home. I have no intentions of living any other lifestyle. My son is starting kindergarten in September, and I want him to go to Evergreen in Cobble Hill. There are not a lot of other schools like that. If I can't live in this valley in my tiny house, I don't know where we would go or what we would do. And I worry about the future of our home and my children and how I'll raise them and what we'll do. So I just wanted to come here and share my story and ask that a legal pathway be provided for people who are looking to live this tiny house lifestyle in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the microphone's on, so just state your name and where you're from.
Hi, most of you know me. My name is Bob Day. I am going to be a future resident in the Glenora area very soon. I'm also the chair of Cowichan Housing Association and Tourism Cowichan. And so that might spell out to you that I've a little in tune on a few topics and a frequent visitor to the website to listen to these meetings. So I think, without reiterating what everybody said, and I respect all their opinions and they're very valuable, and I hope you've heard them, that this is a perfect time now to stop and reset and listen to these voices clearer and listen to agencies that I described that I'm part of. And hopefully there's time when if this gets restarted again, that we set aside the time for input from organizations such as Tourism Cowichan, Cowichan Housing, and the Farmers Institute and the likes. Even if you have done before, now obviously there's enough outcry that we need to go back and start somewhere again and look at this, because I don't 100% disagree with what's being put forward, because it's been a long time since we've done this. But a modernized official community plan leads to these type of bylaw amendments. But I think we need to reach out and start listening to all the small corners, because also in my life, I'm a part of one of the feed producers on the local area here. And I can't tell you how many people are growing food, and I'm scared to ask how many are not legit according to even current zoning. So life is hard enough as it is. I think we need to find ways, especially through zoning and land use things, where we can make life easier for folks and preserve the natural culture of the Cowichan Valleys. So in a very short time period, with the span of a month, Tourism Cowichan has embarked on with a consultant on a study of the CZB to hone in on the items located in there that are going to hinder tourism in our area, and we would love to have the opportunity to present that report when we get there. But I can also say that some of the bylaws in here affect a lot of the issues that we need to be working on to promote and do better on. So I just hope you leave the space. I mean, and to leave with a final notion, I was once elected myself, and one of the biggest things that we put through was the creation of Cowichan Housing Association, and they set aside time and money to sponsor a 2-day workshop so that every person around this table understood that issue and how it works. And I think that was so valuable for me. You need to understand from the ground up, and it's hard to be an expert in everything, so it's just an opportunity to sit back and learn and listen. And I think you're hearing enough from the public, but I think if it's in an organized way, we can get more out of it and move forward in a positive way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Next person, just come to the mic.
I'm Heather Todd from Shawnigan Lake.
Hi, Heather.
Try not to cry, and I'll squeeze my butt cheeks. I am totally against this. I know each and every one of you who live side by side with us, you can't really tell me that you think this is a good idea. And I think this might even cost you some of your positions. So I'm totally against it. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. You come to the podium and your name and where you're from, Shannon.
I'm Shannon Boisvert from Area H. Many of you know me already. Might be familiar with my work. I've sent many letters. I was on the APC in 2021, and I felt that my input wasn't listened to at that stage, and I resigned over it. I have been to all the open houses. I have attended all the information meetings. I've read all the documents, and all I would say, the only good thing that's come out of this whole document is how the community has come together against it. I've never seen everyone so united over something, and it really makes me really proud of, who we are, and this is who we are at our roots. I also wanted to say to the people who made this document and thought it was a good idea to pass it out, how dare you?
Excuse me, Shannon?
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. We'll stay on track. Do it point to me. Thank you.
Through the chair to whoever made this.
Yeah. Okay. But no, let's keep it on the track of the CZB and
Yes.
Thank you.
I will say my grandparents came to this country with all they could carry on their back. They fed 8 children on a half-acre garden. That's the dream. That's what we are here in this country for, to have our little patch of land that we can make our own. We can grow our children and grow our animals and have a life. And no one wants to live in a little apartment complex. And, that's the only thing that some people can afford, but that's not what they aspire to have. They all aspire, everyone wants to have their little piece of land with the white picket fence, hopefully more than 4 feet high, and to have the life that they wanted to build for themselves. And I will just say that anyone that thinks that rezoning someone's property and taking that away from them is a good idea, think again. I will fight this until my last breath. My mom is here, and I got a daughter that's 14, and she's spicier than me, so look out.
Thank you, Shannon. We have, just looking at time,
Yeah.
we have 3 more minutes left.
My
so
name is
hopefully-
Warren. I'm from Area F. I'll try to go quick.
Thank you.
I'm here today to speak about property rights and democracy, 2 things I still believe in and 2 things that I feel are very much under threat. With the CZB, you've effectively removed, with a stroke of a pen, my ability to, and my neighbors, to build a secondary dwelling on our property. That's not a small change. That's something that many of us have planned, invested, and counted on when we committed our life savings, our sweat and blood into our homes. That second dwelling isn't a structure, it's my children's future home. When ownership feels out of reach, it's a place for aging parents when they need care. It's potential source of income in a time when 2 full-time jobs are no longer enough to keep a family by. And on short-term rentals, where is the clear access path to licensing in this proposal? Requiring a TUP is not a solution. It's a barrier. For my generation, short-term rentals aren't some easy money scheme. They're a practical way to bridge the gap, help cover mortgage, daycare, insurance, property taxes. I wish we lived in a world where 2 stable jobs were enough, but we don't anymore. So give us access to the largest economic driver on Vancouver Island, tourism. If someone wants to responsibly convert an unused structure, maybe a former chicken coop, and a visitor from Germany or the Netherlands wants to stay there, why shouldn't we be allowed? These are small practical opportunities that help families stay afloat. People are struggling. Your role is to make it easier, not harder. Now, I want to acknowledge that there are staff and directors who deeply care about this community. People who have raised concerns about this process it's moving too fast. The OPC should never have been passed on a split vote. But for those who didn't see this level of outrage coming, I would respectfully suggest it's time for some reflection, because your role here is to serve the community. Our elected directors and the advisory boards like the APC are meant to be the direct connection to staff here at the CVRD. And right now, that connection seems broken. To directors who supported the OCP, you now have an opportunity to rebuild trust. And that starts with one simple, reasonable action. Stop the process. Stop the CZB until the next election, because in plain terms, trust has been damaged, and without public trust, you no longer have a mandate to govern. In this process, if this proceeds without giving a public chance to weigh in through the election, you are risking lasting damage to public confidence, not just in this decision, but in local government as a whole. We're already seeing growing distrust in institutions everywhere. I'm not someone who subscribes to that. I believe in democracy, I believe in this institution, and I believe in the CVRD. I've worked with incredible people in this building, but now I'm asking you, the directors, to lead. Direct staff to stop. Stop the meetings, stop the timeline, and stop the process of the CZB. Give the community a voice through the ballot box. Thank you.
And my apologies, but I didn't catch your name. Warren. Warren? Thank you, Warren.
My name is
Okay,
Sharon.
just before we start.
Yep.
We've run out of time, but too bad. Carry on.
My name's Sharon Boisvert. That was my feisty daughter. I have a little rescue dog that I walk twice a day. That's 14 walks a week, all in different areas. We don't want to get bored. And I see property after property after property that will be contravening your proposed bylaws. I'm here for them. The little donkeys, the old horse, the lady that supports herself by selling her eggs, the little kid in the 4-H club that has the little calf, the mom and dad that live in the RV on their kids' property because they can't afford to have their own places anymore and need help being looked after, the teenager that is living in the RV, the young man that lives aboard, that's all he can afford to rent a houseboat in Cow Bay. You're missing the charm of the area that makes other people envious of where we live. Big mistake. And you're trading that to cause fear, stress, and desperation in the people that you're supposed to be serving, not reigning over. You're not monarchy. But you're tone deaf. You're just not getting it. I would suggest that these people that put this plan together be let go. They aren't getting it.
Excuse me for a minute, ma'am. Just between you and I need to see your eyes. Okay. We're not going to put staff in front of this. This is between, your comments now are to us as the directors. So if we keep it that way.
Scrap the OPC.
There we go.
The OCP. Okay. Scrap the bylaws. Serve us. That's the best way you can serve us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just before we get going, I'd just like to get an idea of how many more people. We do have to conduct this meeting and get to those motions that you've been referring to. So what do we have for a lineup? I'm just trying to gauge behind you. 2 more? Okay. So given that we're over, we'll ask that people can say, hey, a couple points before were really good, but try to keep your points additional. Thank you. Okay, it looks like Director Morrison's ahead of you.
Move that the public input period be extended to accommodate the remaining 3 speakers.
We have a seconder. All in favor? Thank you, committee.
Good day, everyone, board chair and board of directors. My name is Joyce Benson. My husband and I live in North Cowichan and also own land in Cowichan Bay. I'm 5th generation Cowichan Valley, and I would say that I want to applaud everyone that has spoken thus far. I am blown away and impressed. And I'll just say that this lineup of zoning bylaws and the OCP are quite out of order in my estimation, along with many others. So today I had the privilege of I made some stops this morning. I was actually sharing the Citizen newspaper because it has some excellent articles in it with regards to all of this. And one headline or letter to the editor was addressed as "The new zoning bylaws by CVRD would be bringing on a rural gulag," and I thought that was quite interesting, very well written. Anyway, in doing so, I went to ShareCare. I was at ShareCare, Top Shelf Feeds,
Island Tractor. I made a stop at the Tim Hortons at Bench Road and ran into, of all people, Gord Fraser and George Baird, who's very well known, and had a chat with them. In doing so, what I connected with today were farming families. I was so impressed with the background, the history, the story, Scott Fraser at Island Tractor, what this means to them as far as their heritage, their future, and how they live and who they are. And I got snippets of all of it today, and I was really quite inspired to say. So what I'd like to touch on really quickly, and it was mentioned a minute ago by Warren, is the short-term rentals. I don't think people understand how imperative it is to have short-term rentals in this valley, and apparently there's something like 1,000 of them. So I know a presentation was made yesterday by some of the local people that are involved with short-term rentals, and also have worked with Couch and Housing Association. They made a presentation to Duncan Couch and Chamber of Commerce Advocacy Committee yesterday afternoon about the importance of short-term rentals. What is really important is, a couple of years ago, I was talking to Christy at the Island Visitors Center by the Forest Museum, and I said, she was telling me about a baseball tournament. I said, Christy, when people come to these tournaments, where do they stay? She said, Joyce, they've got to go to Nanaimo and Victoria. Okay, well, with gas prices right now, not a good plan. But if you stop for one moment and think about hockey tournaments, soccer tournaments, baseball tournaments, curling tournaments, events in our Cowichan Valley, boarding schools. Exactly. So the list is endless. It is our economy for people to have a place to stay. And no, they don't need a place to stay that doesn't have a bathroom. I just about died when I heard that piece. But anyway, so there's a whole lot of what doesn't work well with what you folks have been. It's been put in front of you, and it's not working, it won't work. And I'm so proud of Ian for stepping up and saying, we're going to change this, and we must change this. But things like our economy, when you have the publisher of the Citizen newspaper, also the chair of the Duncan Couch and Chamber of Commerce, he was at that meeting yesterday. He knows what we're talking about. This is our lives, our futures, and our generations that we're responsible for. And when I talk to people like I did today, and I say, I met a longtime farmer, and he had his grandson with him, and his grandson's a farmer with him as well. And I said, Gary Massey, River Bottom Road. I said, Gary, this isn't just about us, is it? And he goes, no, Joyce, it's our kids and their kids and our community. And I said, you've got it right. Thank you very much, everybody, for what we're doing. We're going to get this fixed, but we're going to make it better because we've got to work together to make good things happen. And that's what I'm all about, is solutions. Let's make it work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joyce. The microphone's on, so just your name and where you're from. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Kim Horsley. I'm from Area G. The reason I came up here is because nobody else from Area G has. I 100% agree with what everybody else has said here. I have prepared nothing to say, so I'm ad lib and I'll be quick. We moved to the area 5 years ago. It was a family-owned property. My aunt and uncle built the property. They passed away. It went to another family, and we were lucky enough to get it back. We love where we live. My spouse is retired. He likes to work on old cars, which means we have more than 1 or 2 vehicles on our 2-acre property. None of our neighbors mind. They're fine with that. I've got an aging mother that needs a place to live on a very fixed income. We're living on a fixed income, and we're having a hard time paying property taxes, utilities, everything that seems to add up. I did not participate in the MOCP at the time because I quite honestly didn't understand it. I don't have the time or I think the mental capacity to understand what 800 pages means. Had I had understood, I would have stood up against it, and now I'm realizing that that is driving this CZB, and I don't agree with either one of them. I think they both should be, CZB should be scrapped, and the MOCP should be rescinded. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alan, and I'm from Area B.
Welcome, Alan.
Thanks. I sort of would like you all to read my T-shirt, but that's just, it seems to fit the day. There's some real crazy going on when, pardon my French, the government encourages the relocation of elk, and then they set the fence limit at 4 foot. Geez, that's really thoughtful, isn't it? You know, the world is full of stupid people, but they don't live here in the Cowichan Regional District. The CVRD may stand for.
Okay, on that note, yes, thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I know there's people in the other room, so. I know there's people in the other room, and I just want to make sure that we are aware they're there, and we wish you could see your faces. So I'd like to continue on with the meeting. Typically, we will get into the agenda and have a staff present a report. But I just wanted to take a moment to, and this is the job of the chair, to review how we got here, especially since this is a special meeting. So this is not our regular business. We had a special meeting 2 weeks ago, I think, well, March 26th, and to deal specifically with the comprehensive zoning bylaw. I'm going to use the acronym CZB. Sorry, folks. It's a mouthful. And we spent 6 hours on that first meeting reviewing it. Lots of questions, lots of concerns and feedback that we gave staff then. We did not complete the review. So we had a second meeting on April 1st and finished the review, had many people here, had received hundreds and hundreds of emails in that 1 week time frame, hundreds and hundreds since, which we've all collected, and they are not being lost and not being unread. They're all there. And on April 1st, the committee made recommendations to the board, and the board meeting is next week. So just so you're clear, this has not gone to the board, but the committee has made 3 recommendations. One, that consideration of the preliminary draft of the CZB be deferred until after community engagement process is completed and revisions to the draft bylaws have been made. That the second recommendation, that a public hearing be held at the appropriate time. I'm paraphrasing, yes? Oh, you have people talking? Okay, so if you can keep the conversation down, yeah, it would be helpful. Sorry, I didn't hear that. I was speaking so loud. And then the third recommendation, that current work on the current draft comprehensive zoning bylaw be paused, including open houses that are scheduled in May. So that's where we left off. We are now headed into the third of a special meeting, and the topic of today is around the CZB and about how long do we pause it for. And this is the piece that we're hearing. I think public input has indicated what you think, and we've had a number of meetings between now and then that people have also told us what they thought. So directors around the board have been listening to that, and I'm sure that will weigh into their conversation around this. Yeah. And so the next step that we will do is we'll listen to staff. Staff will present the report that they brought forward, and then we will typically ask questions of staff. And once we've done that, then we will deal with a motion on the floor around what is pause, what does pause actually mean? So that's the process. And then after that, if we get to a motion and we've completed our business, we'll be opening it up for question period. You can come up to the microphone and ask 2 questions per person. So that's where we're at, and I'll do the best to navigate us to that point. So with that, I would turn to Mr. Robbins about the next agenda item. Or the one and only agenda item.
One and only agenda item. And you have a staff report before you. Mr. Tippett here is to talk about the comprehensive zoning project timeline.
All right, we'll turn to Mr. Tippett. The honorable seat 27 is now yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You did a great job explaining the introduction to my report, which was basically just a background around what happened at the previous 2 meetings. So I'm not going to repeat that. But following the second special meeting, which you alluded to, I was directed to prepare this report to try to flesh out the kind of loose end that's left from the third part of the resolution from the previous meeting, i.e. how long is the pause, what will occur, if anything, during the pause, and so forth. And so in the spirit of trying to come up with a couple of options in relation to that, we prepared 3 options. And I say we because this report was essentially co-written by a bunch of staff here. Which are not, they're not the only possible options. There are obviously other options, or, possibility of mixing and matching. We're just trying to seek further direction on where our next direction or effort should be directed. Should we, wait until, as was said today, after the upcoming election? Should we do something during the interim period in terms of engagement to try to harness some of the, frankly, I think, positive community spirit that we're hearing today? I don't know, and the report is intended to stimulate that discussion and maybe come up with a way to move forward. So that's all I have to say at the moment.
All right, thank you for that. So we'll turn to directors for questions. Director Abbott.
Through you, Chair, and I'm sure others around this table appreciative that you're at the helm today. This has been a difficult couple of weeks, both at the table and I know offside. Through you, Chair, I wonder, and we've been hearing a lot. We've been hearing a lot, the pause, but we also heard that this is one of the public presentations just now said one of the good things, it was probably Mrs. Beauvoir, is the amount of outreach, public engagement, what we've heard. And I worry about the prospect of pausing all the way out until after the election. And I wonder, again, through you, whether Mr. Tippett can comment, can we not work on this? Can we not be working on the CZB, refining it, public engagement, use it, use it as a discussion topic during the election, bring it forth for hopefully in the new term, a finalized rework draft with the public meeting, the public hearing, so that is it inextricably linked that you cannot talk about the CZB on its own? You have to talk about it with the MOCP, because my contention is that the MOC could then be debated, amended, modified after we've approved the CZB.
So I want to hold you there for a moment, because right now on the table, and this is what staff are, and I'd like questions directed to staff, are, the idea of pausing it, and I think that was the initial part of your question. Is there something that should be done in the meantime? Because quite frankly, there's hundreds of emails out there that have been received, and I don't want those lost. So what direction does staff need? And I think, is that the question that you're asking?
It is, and I think Mr. Tippett left it open that whilst the team here, staff expertise, has come up with 3 options, we could come back with a hybrid. But I do worry that we lose the inertia and go with what has been posited somewhere around the room, that we should pause until after the election. I think we don't want to lose the inertia. We need to use the time and keep going. Not that a decision is made before the election, but that we can continue that dialogue.
But I think right now we're at questions, and so my job is not to jump in here. I apologize. My job is actually, if there's a question for Mr. Tippett, can you make it?
The question would relate to, in his analysis, page 2, Mr. Tippett, item 2, where you link planned with ongoing concurrent internal technical review and the draft CZB refinements, including consistency with the OCP. My query is, need it be consistent with the presently approved MOCP, or can we just get on with refining the CZB, worry about making it consistent with an OCP later?
Right.
If that's nice.
I don't know if there's a question in there, Mr. Tippett. Go ahead.
I mean, can we do that? Yes. Is it a good idea to do it? That's where I would defer to the group around the table here. I hear what you're saying about, the input received. Rest assured, we're not losing it. We're thinking about it, and we will be doing something with it. I'm just not exactly sure what until we get direction from this committee and ultimately the board. So I can't really answer your question in that sense.
And I'd just like to remind directors at the table that where we are right now is we have paused it. What we're looking at right now, direction staff need to know, what does pause mean? Is it we start back up in June, we start back up in October, we start back up next year? Like, what does pause mean? So I'm looking for questions to staff. We can get into discussing the merits of it, but right now, if there's any questions for staff, that's what I'm looking for clarity or anything you might need to know, and then we'll get into a motion on the table. So Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair. I think we need to meet the community where they're at, and by talking about this as if this is a positive participation, this is a protest. So, meeting.
Do you have a question, though, for
me,
staff?
my question is,
okay.
coming from that perspective of meeting the community where they're at, would it be possible to not lose the work that's been done, but dial it back to the bylaws that exist now? Okay. Let's educate the community of what do our bylaws look like now? Because I could guarantee you that many of you want those changed, some of them changed. So if we could understand as a community, as a board, as an organization, what are the bylaws that we have now, and then work from there to have the community say to us, well, we want them to be modernized, and this is how it looks. Like, would it be that hard to just collate everything that exists at this time and go out to the community with that?
So question to staff. Oh, sorry.
Would it be possible? Yes. It's not inside the scope of the present work plan for this project, though, because this project was about doing a single zoning bylaw for 9 electoral areas. So, yes, I mean, probably, some kind of engagement with the community on anything, it would be useful, but it's not currently part of this project. So, I mean, it's a good question, but it's not really apropos of the agenda item today. Maybe we should discuss it further at subsequent meetings.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, hang on. I need to get you on the microphone. Hang on a second. Just interesting. All kinds of people on here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe that detail is not exactly on the work plan, but today's meeting was to discuss the work plan, like the charter. We were
No,
bring that
just clarify.
forward,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just about.
No, just to clarify, because this is a continuation of the same meeting, from my perspective for procedure, that we are talking only about the length of where the pause is going. We have not taken our recommendation yet to the board. We have made one to the board. So this is clarifying to the board that when we said pause, we mean this. We're putting sort of a period at the end of it. We're saying that this is where we want this to go to. And so that's how I view it. So it's not what you're talking about.
Tough without the how.
Well, the how, okay, so I can turn to the committee on this because I think we're into a discussion on a motion here because it's really about talking about it. But the idea, you left off last time, we had 3 motions we made. We paused this. Staff want to know, what does pause mean? And in my mind, it's pretty simple. We give a date. Like we say, this is when it's paused to. If it's the rest of 2026, we tell staff that. So that's what, when you get into a motion, I'll be open to all, where we go with it. But that's what these special meetings have led us to. So we can open up project charters, we can look at all kinds of things, but that's not what today's meeting's about. It's about saying, where are we pausing it to? And I think the community wants to know, where are we pausing it to? Not just staff, I think the community wants it. So that's, do you have a follow-up?
I agree. No, I'll wait.
Okay.
Thanks.
Director Nicholson.
Now I'm confused.
Okay.
Because I do not think that the report addresses what the pause means. The options we're presented with are about various types of engagement and revised schedules. So that really confuses me because I was in the same, under the same impression as Director Acton that we were here to talk about, like, what should we do to fix this broken process?
Okay. So maybe that's a question for staff.
So my question was going to be, you've provided 3 options. There is no financial information here to compare and contrast these options. And I'm not super clear on the differences between the 3 options, although they all take us well beyond the election. And I guess how far beyond the election depends on when you start doing them. But I would certainly like to understand better what these options mean.
So turn to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Director Nicholson's actually correct. It's not just about the length of the pause, but it's giving us general guidance for preparing a revision to the work plan in association with this project, because clearly the last part of what was called the project charter, the timeline and the steps, and the engagement and all that, they've kind of got blown out of the window in the last couple of meetings. So that's what the purpose of setting up these options was, to sort of give some visions of what we could do in terms of revising the work plan. But if the work plan, depending on what the resolution of the committee is, maybe we won't be revising the work plan in the short term. On the other hand, if you choose, probably the first 2 of these options, maybe we will be revising it and bring it back in late May or something like that to get into the kind of meat and potatoes about process that you're sounding like you're more interested in. We haven't had the time to step back from the process and come up with some detailed cost estimates or process estimates, or even, being able to assimilate all the information we've heard to the point where we're comfortable coming up with a recommendation on process. So it's going to take more time. So the intent of the report really was to get clarity on the length of the pause, and depending on what the committee decides in that regard, one or more of the options might be useful to give us direction to revise the work plan. Hope that helps.
Follow-up?
So let me try and figure this out then out loud. So option 1 is about doing some sort of more robust engagement process on a topic-by-topic basis. So based on presumably the issues that people have raised, we would go and engage directly on those issues. Is that what that means?
Yes, essentially that's what that means. And the kind of philosophical underpinning of that is it would be an educational opportunity as well, to get it maybe to some degree what Director Acton was referring to, some more familiarity with the current state of the bylaws and whether the proposed changes for the better or for the worse. And we thought one way of doing that would be to have, sort of topic-related planning matters, subject papers going out with surveys related to them. But, is that the right solution? I ask the committee for direction on what they think they want to do in terms of timeline, because that's going to determine whether that's even something that we want to get into this year.
Right, but let's just clarify the options first. So the second option sounds to me like what we were going to do before, which were some open houses. So some further public information kind of engagement, but not necessarily workshopping things and really getting a good feel for the range of thought out there. And then the third option is basically not doing anything. Just putting together from what we've heard to date, a revised draft. Do I have that right?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm making notes too.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think you do have that right, Director Nicholson. That is a general idea. I think under any of these options, we're certainly, as was noted by the chair, taking note and wanting to conserve the input received so far, because it's going to be very useful whenever the work on this project resumes, if it does resume, or even if it doesn't resume and we end up amending current zoning bylaws in some fashion. Yes. But as I say, the options presented aren't exhaustive, and they're not mutually exclusive either. They can be mixed and matched. But I think you got the gist of it.
Okay. Complete? Okay. Director McClinton. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks for the previous speaker. It's good to get clarification on some of that. I'm just curious about the, you can tell me if this is out of order, but I'm not an expert on the Local Government Act. With these bylaws, you know, we talk a lot about making them, some of them more permissive. Like, how much thought was given into just removing a bylaw or not bringing it in? And if that's the case, you know, if something's not explicitly written into a bylaw, is that activity automatically not allowed under the Government Act, or do we need to have those activities written in?
So
does that make sense?
It does, but it's not the form. Unfortunately, that's those. You know, today we're talking about very high level.
Okay.
We start dipping into the weeds right now, and this will be a very long meeting, and we're not actually here to resolve that. So,
sure.
Yeah.
I will save my comments for when a motion gets tabled.
Okay, for sure. Director Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. And I'd like to just ask a clarifying question first, because you'd mentioned a few moments ago that you viewed this as a continuation of previous special meetings with a goal as to put a date or an end time on the pause. I didn't read or perceive this special meeting and any information contained in the report to be following along those lines. So there's definitely some confusion as to the actual intent of this. You know, in discussions, I thought today we were providing direction to staff. And I will pose a question to staff, because I'm hearing loud and clear what the community's saying. And I need to know from staff, is there a time sensitivity? Is there a deadline that is in legislation that says you've adopted an MOCP, and that's for another day, but that you've adopted an MOCP and you must have your updated and revised zoning in place by 12 months later, 18 months later? Because we're heading into the summer, and I don't know what experience folks may think they have around this, but going into the summer to proceed an engagement in this is a very challenging thing. So the question is there a timeline, an impetus that we have to have this done?
Over to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The short answer is no. The longer answer is we have to strive to make sure that our implementing bylaws, including zoning, aren't at odds with an official plan that's in force. But, you know, there's no provincial sanction, there's no local government act requirement in respect of that. So, yeah, again, the short answer is no.
Thank you.
Okay. So, did you want to be still talking, Director Morrison? Okay, you were still live there. Okay, thanks. I'll turn that off. All right. Oh. I beat you to it. No, don't touch it. Okay, we're good. Okay. So, no further questions for staff. I'll be looking to the committee. Director Nicholson.
Well, I am concerned that I think we're here to do a job. Primarily, we're here to do land use. That seems to be the bulk of the job. And I really feel that we've been working on this for a long time. And I think we need to, and I really appreciate all the people who have come out today and all the people who have come out last night and all the other people I've heard from about the need to slow down. And I get that. And I think we need to slow down, but I do not think we need to stop. Because out of respect for a significant number of people in my community who have contributed both to the OCP and to the zoning bylaw, such as it is, I really feel like we've got work to do. And I do not want to lose the momentum of the engagement that we have, that people are actually listening. And I think we've heard some really valuable suggestions already. What did I say?
Yeah, I would like to try to get a motion on the table
So-
because, yeah.
Well,
Do you
I'm
have
going to
one?
move option 1. And I would like to speak to it if I can.
Don't think option 1 is a motion.
Well, let me move
Yeah,
it.
so,
I'll create an option out of it.
yeah, so I'm looking for the motion to put on the table. So if you were the first, did you?
I move that we restart the public engagement process on a topic-driven communications basis from late spring through midsummer, and use that information to develop a revised draft zoning bylaw along with all the other input we've received to date.
So slow down so we capture that. You want to get a bit of information more?
I need it again.
If you can repeat that, please?
Right, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So I would move that we restart a topic-driven engagement process with the community to receive specific input on issues of concern. And that would happen from late spring through midsummer. And based on that input and the input received to date, revise the draft comprehensive zoning bylaw which would, of course, be considered presumably after the election, I guess. I'm not sure the timing of that, how long it would take.
we'll just make sure we got the motion captured properly, and then I'll turn to see if someone will second this. It's been seconded. Is there a way we can put that motion on the screen?
Provided I get it.
Does the screen extend into the other room?
It will when we put it up there.
Okay.
I'm just going to confer with
Yeah.
the recording secretary as well.
Okay, just thank you for your patience while we make sure we understand the words. And yes, this is the way things get done. It's slow sometimes, but I think the biggest confusion we have is afterwards, if we don't all read it together. One person thinks one thing, another person thinks something else, and so we've learned you have to have it where you can see it, and where you can see it as well, so you can understand what we're discussing and voting on. I'm not an auditory person, so I'm visual, so. And they're just typing it up so it can be shown on the screen.
We're trying to finalize it first.
Oh, finalize it first, sorry. glad we have a pause. I don't want to take a break. What do you think? What's that? Yeah. Oh, they shouldn't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to take a break when the motion's on the floor.
We're on a break.
Yeah. 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 I know. I don't want to. Thank you. I'm looking for your backup on that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't want to read it. Make sure it's right.
It's ready to loading? It's not loading?
No, just the program is just not keeping up with how we're doing.
Oh, I see. Okay. No. No, well, motion, I don't, we got a motion that's pending, that's on the floor. So I don't want to break. Seem to be making decisions behind the back door, right? Because we got a motion on the floor. That's fine, but yeah. Yep.
I should have written it down. Technical issues.
least you had somebody from REG. You had somebody from REG. Yeah? Oh, that must be reasonable then. Okay. Shall we?
But this one, this part has to do with topic based. That's where the, yeah, using a topic based approach to that line was an option.
Okay. Can we wrap it quickly? This is, yeah. No, we're not, we've got a motion on the floor. I don't want to break. That's why we've got a motion. So if we break, people. We close, you think?
Close.
That's feeling restlessness in the crowd. Yeah, no pressure. Just don't have an opinion with this, okay? No. All right, folks, thank you for your patience, and thank you to staff as we navigate all those little electrons to get something on front of us. It's thank you. So we have a motion duly made and seconded. So this is the motion on the floor. It was made by Director Nicholson and seconded by Director Segal. So so for here it is on there. If you would like to read it for those that might not be able to see it, Mr. Robbins.
Thank you, Chair. That it be recommended to the board that the public engagement process be restarted using a topic-based approach as outlined within option 1 of the April 15th staff report based upon the topics of concerns raised to date, and that the engagement be conducted from spring to summer, and that a revised draft CZB be prepared based on that input received.
Yeah, please read, this is part of the process. Sorry? Can I make a point there? Hang on a second. Director McClinton wants a.
Can I ask that it gets pulled down so people at home can see us? Because we're just in a tiny little box there.
No, I actually wanted people in the gallery and people
take a minute?
that are here at the point, and people online, when they see it, they'll actually be able to read it. You'll be able to see us shortly.
Okay.
Okay, as soon as we can. do that. Director Nicholson, as the mover, you usually get first rights to speak to it, and then we'll go in order of Morrison, Wilson, Acton, Justice. Anyways, and all the way down the line. So, Director Nicholson.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I am here to work to improve the comprehensive zoning bylaw through a robust public process. And I think it's really critical to get out to the community now and gather their informed input so staff can create a better second draft and we can leave it in a good place to move forward after the election. It will be no small task for newly elected directors to get up to speed about land use planning before they're in a position to make an informed decision. And I feel at a minimum we need to complete a second draft, so next term's EASC will have a solid document to work from. And I'd also like to say that I am, and particularly after hearing many of the comments last night, I feel very strongly that a strong OCP and a strong zoning bylaw will help protect this community, the rural lifestyle that we all love. And yeah, I just think it's the best way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm really troubled by this because if we're to spend all the time and effort that we should as directors, reading all the emails, going to the public events, listening to people, talking to people, then I think our work should reflect what we're hearing from the community. And I must be hearing completely different messages from what my colleagues are, because in listening to the public input today and listening to the emails and that I've been reading, I haven't heard anybody say, or if I have, it's been very small numbers, saying, take that CZB and tweak it, take that CZB and modify it, improve on this, improve on that. I've been hearing a resounding no. Yeah. Stop it.
Okay, so you know, I appreciate your passion, but I would just ask that, you know, we keep those things down till the meeting ends, because we have to get it all the way through question period as well. But well, I can't say this, I applaud your passion, but at the same time, if we can get through our work. So, Director Morrison has the floor, and so as long as he's speaking, yeah.
So I feel a responsibility here today to reflect the wishes of not only the taxpayers and residents of Area F, but all those other people across the region that have taken time to reach out to me as they've reached out to you, and to bring forward what I'm hearing, what they're saying. And this does not reflect what they're saying to me and what they're saying on social media and in the emails that we're sending. So I'm going to strongly urge my colleagues to reject this motion, to defeat this motion. I'm saddened that it's taken precedence over one that was distributed yesterday and everyone has in hand already, but please listen to our community, do the next right thing, defeat this, and let's go to the motion that's already been distributed. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Morrison. Director Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First of all, what he said. These are my notes from previous meetings. These are all my notes, 4 pages of them from last night and other previous meetings. And I must be hearing different things to what other people are hearing here, because mainly what we've heard today here. And I'm going to go back here. You may recall that this was first presented on the 26th of March. And when it was presented at agenda approval time, I voiced my disappointment and my concerns that this was being brought forward too quickly and that I did not like what I was seeing. My views have not changed. In fact, they've been strengthened here. We cannot go ahead with this. And I think the word just though, the phrase that was used just now by Director Morrison was a resounding no, and that's the way I'm going as well on this particular motion.
Thank you, Director Wilson. And yeah, if we keep, we'll move through faster as we can move through directors, please. Director Acton. Oops, sorry, wrong. There we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So a few things. I guess I have like a goal in mind for today, is like something that's going to help us rebuild the trust of the public. And does this rebuild trust? I would say no, because this is the route. Becomes very similar to how we do our budget process, where we are chipping away at trying to shave it really all the way down here, but we can only take off a little bit. So I strongly believe that the CZB needs to be rewritten. It's just gone too far, too prescriptive, too I hear the community, so I think it's going to be disingenuous, feel untrustworthy if we take parts of it or topics of it back out to the community. They've spoken. They've showed us what parts is offensive. I believe that we need to go back to my comment of meet the community where they're at, and I would support more let's look at what we have and bring the community along in that fashion, or yeah, I guess that just the rebuilding the trust part for me, I don't think that is gonna do it. And this is causing, like we've heard people talk about, anxiety and making people anxious, that just keeping it going where people are potentially losing the ability to have a secondary dwelling and all those things, it just keeps that anxiety there without an actual resolution. So I wouldn't support going back out to the community to just chip away at small details of the CZB.
Thank you. Before I go to Director Deck, I would just mention to people that 9 directors at a table bring diverse ideas and thoughts together, and not agreeing is actually a good thing. We come to a conclusion by listening to everybody. And so when you hear people asking questions or going there, we will get to the conclusion, and the conclusion of the group, usually in my mind, is the best thoughts ever. So it's part of our process. So it's, I hope you can bear with us. Director Deck.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that trust is broken out there, and I do agree that we need to rebuild it. But I think the best way to rebuild it is to inform the public, receive their input, and make amendments where needed. There's value in hearing directly from residents in various ways. Formal input provides an opportunity to gauge sentiment and opinions. For me personally, it's been challenging to assess the breadth of support or lack of it from emails that are exactly the same. So I've strings of emails with exactly the same wording. So for me, the weight of those emails is less than speaking to someone personally or receiving a personal email regarding their personal situation. So I'm in favor of continuing the formal process for that reason, to get a true picture of the feelings of the majority of the population of the CVRD. If we don't follow through with this process, using prior public input, the input of folks today and others, policymaking, staff work, and taxpayer dollars, I feel will have all been for naught.
Okay, sorry, no comments from it. Thank you.
By committing to listening to residents and amending the draft, we'll build back trust. I'll end from an Area I resident. These are complex and important initiatives. They deserve a level of discourse, leadership, and communication that reflects the importance and supports informed, region-wide decision-making. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 more speakers, Director Segal, McClinton, and then Abbott. Director Segal.
Thank you, Chair. My first question is, it seemed like there were kind of 3 bullet points. I'm wondering if they can be severed.
Can you put those up, please? So just for clarity, one of the things that you can do, everybody familiar with blackjack, where you can blackjack and you can split your cards? We can do that with a motion too. You can take a motion and break it into different portions. Sometimes it helps the dialogue, so because we may all agree on one portion of it, and we may not agree on another portion. So it's sort of that concept. So we turn to our parliamentarian because he's the one that can tell us if the motion is possibly severed. Their ability to speak to it in couple different stages. Hope that helps.
And so I guess I can speak to it. Or
And I think just one of the clarity things, if you sever something, it has to be able to stand on its own as a motion. So that's one of the things.
Thank you, Chair. I think the first and last are needed. So if you restart the engagement and you compile that, what are you wanting staff to do with that? And so the last part suggests that a revised draft be prepared based upon that. In terms of the time you engage, I think can stand by itself.
so was that a yes? They could be severed?
Yes, but you would have to, you need the process to have that happen. You need a seconder.
Yes, so you can move to
I'm
sever.
outside on my-
What I'm suggesting,
Yeah.
though, is that all 3 wouldn't stand on their, in my opinion, wouldn't stand on their own. The first one suggests restarting your engagement process, but there is no instructions as to what you want to do with that, the results of that process. The third bullet suggests what the mover would like to be seen with that input.
Yeah, so based on that, I don't think they're severable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll talk about them a little bit compartmentalized, recognizing that we won't sever them. All right, and now they're not there anymore, but, okay, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I really agree with Director Acton's comments around we need to have a complete rethink, a complete, public engagement rethink. Obviously, what we've been doing to date is not working. And that I would also like to go back to our existing zoning bylaws to see what should be changed and to move from that point. And to move in a way, at the speed of trust, at the speed that we can do this along with community. So my seeking to sever was just wondering if that could be captured within number 1. I'm not comfortable with the timing, limiting spring to summer. I think that's probably not enough time. And I also think that I support the continuing of our pause until after we're able to really have community in feeling heard and involved, which probably means after the election. I'd be comfortable with that. So I guess, my question to staff would be if this were to go forward, would they come back with a completely reworked project charter? And if this, and also what would, if this were to go forward, what would the proposed, first reading of the when would that timeline happen? for actually considering the draft? I don't think it's soon.
Mr. Tippett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to the board chair through the committee chair, yes, I mean, the intent would be that if this motion passes, that we would then regroup as staff and come up with a proposed, I would still characterize it as an adjustment to the work plan in relation to this project rather than a complete reworking of the project charter as such. But yeah, it would probably be substantially revised. I can't be totally sure when that would be ready. I would like to think that the soonest it could be ready would be towards probably the second committee meeting in May, because as I said earlier, it's going to take a while to formulate a coherent plan, and then there's other logistical things in association with it, like finding facilities and assistance as needed to conduct the work of various types, and I also share your stated concern about the timing too, because spring is kind of like now, and or it started already, and May is starting to get into late spring. Summer's generally not the ideal time to do engagement. For one thing, a lot of staff are away. For another thing, a lot of people are trying to enjoy life and get outside and go in the boat or go camping or whatever it might be, and maybe don't want to necessarily engage at that time. But anyway, hopefully I've answered your question about, yes, we would bring some revision to the work plan back in respect of this resolution if it were to pass. And then we could get a bit more into detail about what the engagement would be and when it would be and so forth.
Thank you. Follow
Yeah.
up?
Yes,
If I may?
go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, we adopted the project charter in February,
Revised.
the revised project charter in February, with the order of operations of a draft first and then public engagement. And, hindsight's 2020, that wasn't the right order. I think the public really doesn't want to see a draft. They want to be involved in the creation of a draft. And, community is clearly hurting, clearly feeling betrayed. A lot of the directors around this table share their concerns. I'm also a hobby farmer. I've got chickens. I sell things at my roadside stand. I think our community really deserves repair. So where I think I come down, I don't agree with the motion currently as it's drafted, but I really think we need to be engaging with community. The more people I email with, I talk to on the phone, I run into on the street, when they're able to connect with their elected officials and hear that we really care and that we've also shared some of their same concerns about this document, it's a very healing experience. And I think that's really necessary. I'm not sure how to get there, so thanks.
We will get there. Director McClinton, yep, sorry. Go ahead, point of order.
So, based on your instruction at the
Yep.
beginning of the meeting.
Yep. Oh, sorry, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Based on your instruction at the beginning of the meeting as to
Yep.
the purpose of this meeting was to determine the pause date, I see nothing in this motion that gives us a pause date. So is this motion even in order? There's no direction to staff as to a date for the pause, so I question if it's even in order.
Yes, I would, two things to consider. In the option one that this is driven from, this pushes everything back into 2027, but no one's asked staff yet about what would be the end date of this pause. Like in terms of the pause, it means that they're starting engagement in June. That's what the pause would be. Like there is no pause to this. So that's so there
Thank you.
to on your motion, there is no pause. It's continuing on. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's direction there. Okay, another point of order. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I do have to press your button. Dr.
Thanks,
Morrison,
sorry.
I'm just going to hit your, oh. Yeah.
It brings up a good point because we have the existing direction from our previous committee meeting to pause. And so do the motions we make today supersede or change that existing? I just like clarity.
It clarifies. So we said pause, but we did not give a time frame. So if this motion carried forward, it would say basically carry on in May, I believe, is what I'm hearing from staff. So it's not saying pause to end of 2026 or whatever direction you want to give. So no, it does give clarification that it would start engagement again.
Right, so it would undo the pause.
It would undo the
Okay,
pause,
okay,
yes.
thanks.
Or clarify it's pausing until this starts up. Does that answer your point of order? Okay. We have Director McClinton and then Abbott, and then we will probably get to a vote. Director McClinton, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to I'd like to introduce a new word into our lexicon. We need to stop. Stop. Director Atkin made a really salient point. This is a protest. And, you know, I've received thousands of comments, emails, direct messages, and to a person, people are unhappy. And I will not be supporting this motion. I'll be supporting the motion that if this is defeated, I'll be supporting the motion that Director Morrison circulated. I'm a little disappointed that that didn't get to be tabled first. Many of my comments were to speak to his motion, because even his motion, in my opinion, doesn't go far enough. However, I do want to deal with first things first, which is stop. This is a big deal, and it's not because I was first elected, like this is my first rodeo. Like, this is 10x anything we've ever done, and people want to know they're being heard. And we're talking around the edges, like Director Acton said, and we need to get back to the root of it, which if this is defeated and Director Morrison's motion is put forward, I'll speak more to that. When somebody like Ms. Horsley gets up and speaks, for Area G, she is one of the most reasonable people in my community and just a bellwether for everything going on. So I just want my community to know that I've received the emails, I've read them. I haven't been able to respond to everybody, but that's what I'm here for today. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, okay. So please, folks, if you can. We have one more, Director Abbott, and then we'll hopefully call the question. So, Director Abbott.
Thank you, Chair. And I have to reiterate what Mr. Tippett said. It seems like an unrealistic timeline to begin to continue this process. I'd also like to encourage the aggregation of continued responses to the CZB. Even though it's been paused, it comes in, it needs to be received and thoughtfully reviewed. It allows staff to do that. It also allows residents to get on with their lives. This is a busy time. Farmers want to farm, tourist operators want to operate their tourists, and they have expended a considerable amount of time and energy coming out at these inconvenient times when we host these meetings to let us know what they think. And I regret I can't support the motion that's on the floor at present.
Yeah. All right, so seeing no other speakers, I would turn to putting the motion back on the screen, please. Is everybody clear about the motion? Just get it on there. Making sure we're absolutely clear. I'll turn to the committee. All those in favor? And any opposed? Motion's defeated. I would... You know, I appreciate that this might feel slow and stumbling, but one of the things is you do get to hear where everybody stands, and I think that that's important. So, yeah. So thank you. So we will. I know it's 5-3. I feel that everybody wants to know how we're going to keep. So I'm turning to committee. Do people need to take a pause? Okay, no, just, yeah, sorry, I wasn't turning to the gallery. Looking to the directors. Okay, so with that, Director Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. As distributed to committee, I would like to move that it be recommended to the board that dedicated staff continue to review, compile, and retain all input received on the draft CZB for future use. And except for development applications, that all staff and consultant activities related to the CZB, LAPs, DPAs, and MOCP amendments cease until after the October 2026 general election and adoption of a new board-directed corporate strategic plan, and that land use staff prioritize and focus on expediting the processing of current, backlogged, and held in abeyance applications. I would ask for a seconder and speak to it.
Well, before you speak to it, I just want to see if our parliamentarian has it.
I do, and I put it up, but I just made one change.
Okay.
Referring to the general local government
Okay.
election.
Okay. And as it comes up, I do have a comment. I have read it. I have spoken to Director Morrison about this as well. This meeting is specifically about the CZB. And public information, public notice has gone out that this is about the CZB. And so we have not given public notice, and that's truly important, about other topics, whether it be DPAs, LAPs, MOCPs, and any other acronym you want to put out there. We haven't given public notice, so the public is not fully informed that this is going to be discussed today. That being said, this is another special meeting around the CZB. I'm looking for this committee to be giving direction to staff about what we're doing with that topic. You can put a notice of motion to the board to have any of those other pieces, and that will be publicly distributed, and everyone will know that's on the agenda for that meeting. But so I would rule anything outside of the CZB in this motion out of order. Yeah, point of order. Director Morrison, actually, you do have the floor if you have a.
I would challenge the chair's ruling.
Okay. So the chair has been challenged. So just for everybody who's aware, our process allows, my job is to show the procedure and explain why the topic is out of order. But the directors at the committee level can say, we may or may not agree with you. So this is put to a vote, and it's strictly no discussion around it. Challenge the chair, and it's it's a majority, and there is no debate. Oh, it is debatable. Okay, so I stand corrected there. Does anybody want to, Director Morrison, do you want to say anything further, or?
I will yield, but reserve the right to speak after.
Okay, so Director Acton.
My question is to Mr. Robbins. I've been at this table for 9 years. I've always been under the impression you can add a topic at any point.
If you,
Yep. So
thank you, Chair.
Yep.
You have every opportunity to present something at an agenda. The chair has made a ruling with regards to what was introduced.
But so it's maybe even topic's not even the right word. It's direction. So for direction or for comment, we've never been subjected to only that one item. Like,
Sorry if you had more to say.
I'm just going to simply say, Chair, that that it's the.
where's the legislation that supports that?
The chair's, part of the chair's job, as the chair has pointed out, was to make rulings. Robert's Rules of Order speaks to what the chair's role is in terms of making rulings so that your business can continue on in a logical way. The chair explained the rationale for considering parts of that motion out of order. And then Robert's Rules of Order then continue on suggesting that the body as a whole can challenge a ruling of the chair. And so that's the basis for that. And so again, the chair provided the rationale behind removing reference to LAPs, DPAs, and the MOCP, and then the body can challenge that, which it was, and that is now subject of a vote whether to sustain or not sustain the chair's ruling.
Okay.
And I would just add that it wasn't about saying that you can't have the motion. It's my job to put out the procedure, saying that if you put this motion forward, understand that there was no public notice that these topics would be discussed today. So just from the procedure perspective, that the next step would be to put these as notice of motion to the board. So that's from a procedure perspective. I feel it's my job as a chair to make sure you're aware of it. If you decide to do different, then we will proceed with the motion on the floor. So that's where I'm coming from. So thank you for the opportunity to say that. Director Wilson.
Thanks, Ben. I don't like challenging you at all. I don't. Not because you're chair, but because you're Ben. But we don't live in a static world. We live in a dynamic, rapidly changing world, and that's the situation we have here. Director Morrison has brought forward a motion which reflects that we should be discussing the wider implications of everything that we've heard today, and that's why I will be supporting Director Morrison on challenging the chair.
Thank you for your words. Director McClinton.
Yeah, just in a similar point, I mean, I think we need to be flexible as a committee and respond to, what people are telling us. And, people know what's going on. They're paying attention to every word we're saying. And it's pretty clear what they're asking for at this time. And so, including the LAPs, DPAs, those other acronyms in there, I think is totally fair at this point. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Director Morrison, you were back up if you wanted, or you want to wait to the end?
Well, no, I can speak now.
Okay, hey, one second, please. There you go.
So on a couple of matters in that I understand you're wanting to ensure that the public is aware of the activities that are being presented and that we're sticking to the intent of what the meeting is. But I have to say that all of these tools are interrelated. The MOCP, the DPs, they are all interrelated. And it's really splitting hairs, in my opinion, to be saying CZB only when we all know that they flow from one another. And I would also suggest that the notice that was given, we just spent, 10 minutes on a break, crafting something that was sort of loosely related to one of the options that was in here, and that was done without any prior publication. It was very loosely related. So I think that on those merits alone, I would ask everyone to vote with me in the challenge of the chair, and that this motion be held in. I won't debate the merits of the motion, but to be debated in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate everybody. Yes, appreciate your patience in the gallery. Director Segal.
Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting sustained. I will be supporting the chair. I agree that public notice hasn't been given for the reference to the LAPs, DPAs, and the OCP. I don't have enough information to understand the consequences of stopping all work, particularly the DPAs. I know there are development applications awaiting exemptions there. I know there are people desperately wanting to run short-term rentals, the tourism industry awaiting temporary use permits in those DPAs. I don't know how many. I don't have enough information to make a decision where we completely pause all of that. Now, pause the CZB, yeah, I'm totally happy with that. So I don't
No,
have
fair-
enough information.
Fair
I need
enough,
to-
yeah, don't get into the debate, yeah. Thank you for your point. We have 3 more speakers, Director Acton, you've spoken, so Director Abbott and then Nicholson. Director Abbott.
Thank you, Chair. And to be brief, I just have to repeat what Director Morrison said. We've heard repeatedly that the CZB is intertwined with the MOCP and the DPA. So I think it can go out, even though we've added some more initialisms to the CZB, it's all in order in my review,
And Director Nicholson, then Acton.
Can I ask for clarification?
I believe you can, if it's around the topic of sustaining the chair.
I don't know if it is.
You may
I
have
mean,
to speak to the motion.
It's very much, as Director Segal mentioned, I'm having a hard time understanding how this land use staff prioritize and focus on expediting the process of current
So, yeah,
applications.
so that would be if the chair is not sustained, then motion will be on the floor, and then you can ask your questions. But what I'm saying is that, just from a chair's perspective, that we have not given public notice, so the public is unaware that we'll be talking about it as this table.
Oh, so just on the public notice part, I
Yeah.
would agree with you on
Yeah,
that, so I will.
that's the only piece that
Fine.
is out there. Director Acton and maybe Morrison to close? Okay.
That was just to the motion.
Have you guys completed anything further? All right, I get to have the honor of saying, shall the chair be sustained? All those in favor? Those opposed? So we have, the chair was not sustained. The motion is as presented. So Director Morrison, you are the mover of the motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. In discussions with our CAO and discussions with my colleagues and hearing what the community has been saying, the intensity of the protest is greater than I've seen in 18 years. And to the motion, I could have gone farther, but I didn't, and I didn't specifically for a couple of reasons. If you look at the wording, and I've had some help in drafting this, is we have heard fantastic input from people, and we want all of that kept and compiled and collated and organized in such a fashion that it will be excellent usable material that will feed and inform whether it's a revamped or rewritten CZB. I think we have to retain that. There's been a lot of passion and a lot of great ideas put forward. So that's essentially the first part of this. And I don't want to stop work. I want to see work continue. But if you read the wording of this, it's about the amendments, about changing things in these documents. That's what I'm saying should cease, that there shouldn't be a lot more work done behind the scenes, or that's an unfair statement. There shouldn't be a bunch of work directed to have staff done that we can't go out and engage with the public with the temperature being as high as it is. We're coming into the summertime. We're just saying, staff, continue with the active applications in process, but when it comes to the long-range planning activities related to the CZB, the development permit areas, all of that, they still stay on the books. We're just not going to be talking about amending or deleting or changing them. There could be a future motion to repeal the MOCP, and that may be a next step, but on advice of our CAO, I think that the question should be asked about the implications of that from a legal perspective, what risk, what exposure that might put the district at on current applications and the like. So I think that may be a follow-up resolution to this, should this pass. But this is so that Staff can continue to work, well, that goes to the third part of this, is while staff are collating and compiling and bringing all this material together, that this gives them an opportunity to work on that, not only the current applications that have come through the door, but all of the backlog that we were told existed during the budget discussions. This isn't meant to be disruptive. This is to, as in Director McClinton's words, stop on all the long-range planning, clear up the backlogs of the current applications on file, because I bet you there's a lot of people out there that want their single lot subdivisions and their small rezonings and the likes, and even the big projects, to proceed in a timely fashion. And it's tied to the elections. That's our timeline. We asked for when the pause will end at the timeline, and there may be some lag in regards to dealing with the corporate strategic plan. And yes, that's a big topic, but the corporate strategic plan is the direction for the next board and the next term. So I think this stands on its own as an item, and I would encourage my colleagues around the table to show some leadership, show some good governance, and show the community that we have been listening to them. I hope you will support this. Thank you.
Thank you, and as Director Morrison is aware, good governance is one of the key foundations to this body, and good governance means that all directors need to have information they need to make decisions. So I turn to other directors to seek out that or make your opinion known. Thank you. Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting this motion. It's unfortunate about the timing of all of this during an election coming up. And although this motion does not, I guess it leaves it up to the next board to decide. I hope, I feel like it could have or does it have anything, does it tell me what's going to happen to the current CZB? Because fortunately for me, I won't be here when the CVRD perhaps brings this up again. But I hope that there'll be a lens of what I'm hearing in the community is our values are being threatened when we start with this CZB. So we need a new lens of supporting families, affordability, and a picture of how we all enjoy this place, we call home, the Cowichan Valley. So I'm glad that this motion suggests a pause, a stop. I don't know what happens to the CZB, where it begins then, but I will have faith that the next board after the election will make the right decision. And I think that it is good to defer it until after the election, just for the fact that this will be the fourth year that I sit here at this table right before an election. And things can get a little dramatic, or good governance can maybe go out the window. So as it approaches, I guess the energy and the nervousness around the table. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I will support the motion, and I hope it is supported.
Thank you, Director Acton, Director Nicholson, then McClinton, and Director Segal.
Thank you. I'm still seeking clarification on what the implications are for DPAs and MOCP amendments on current applications.
So
Can staff help me there?
Yeah. Is there a staff member that can respond to that specific? Go ahead, Mr. Tippett.
I might be able to help a little bit. I know there was a package of amendments made to DPA exemptions and authorizing TUPs for short-term rentals, temporary use permits for short-term rentals. I think that was if it hasn't been adopted yet, it's on the cusp of being adopted. So that's kind of a project that's finished, and it's a small project, to be fair. It was Richard who did it, and there's another thing on my division's work plan to sort of do more comprehensive review of development permit area guidelines and exemptions and so forth. And with the CZB project, we've not been able with our small team to make any progress on that to date. So, you know, it's not a current matter that we're working on right now. And I can't remember what was the other, was there another one as well?
There's the local area plans and I think MOCP amendments.
Oh, yeah, I can't really speak to those. I'm not involved in that.
Okay. Is there any staff available that could? Just looking.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, Miss Breen with, just, yeah, introduce yourself, thanks.
Yeah. Good afternoon, through the chair. With respect to the MOCP, Coralie Breen, I'm Manager of Strategic Initiatives in Land Use Planning. We are just about to conclude public information meetings on the local area plans with the final meeting tomorrow night in Cobble Hill for areas A, B, and C. We have concluded our referrals to 39 agencies and organizations, and we completed the referrals to the APCs. So our work over the next month or so before we came back to committee was to compile all of that and report on it. So that's the status of where we're at with the MOCP, or the local area plans, which is Schedule B of the OCP, and associated amendments to the OCP were related to things such as instead of referring to Schedule B as being work that was to be completed in the future, we were going to simply be changing the tenses to is completed and is included. So they weren't significant amendments to the OCP on Schedule A. That's the current status of our work.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just 1 second, please. Right, and I just some clarification, and this is where the staff can help, and just for clarity, what I've been reminded of is that if this passes, well, this would go to the board first. So, and once it goes to the board, at that point, it becomes in effect. So just so people are aware that if we make a recommendation today, it would not come in effect until it actually get passed at the April 22nd board meeting. So we're aware of that, but didn't know if everybody else was aware of that. We have Director McClinton.
Can I just follow up?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Carry on.
Thank you. So I'm still not clear whether there are any applications on train that would be affected by not being able to amend the MOCP. And so maybe that information could be provided before the board meeting.
So staff got that information? Are we able to provide it now? Over to staff. Oh, sorry, not without the microphone, please. Go ahead.
Through you, Chair. So we would need to look at our list of applications to determine whether or not that would impact any of the applications. So we would provide that information before next week's board. But I will say that I don't believe that we actually have any applications that are currently being held in abeyance, apart from one that was requested by the applicant specifically. And generally the backlogged applications are those that are, we're waiting for information from applicants or the province. So otherwise it's a relatively normal load of applications. But in terms of, would any be impact? We have a number of in-stream applications that obviously we don't have a CZB in place, so those are based on the existing bylaws that are in force.
Thank you for that. Did you have a follow-up? Okay. Director McClinton, and then Director Segal.
wait till
Your face to come up?
Yeah, thank you. Thank
You're
you,
looking
Chair.
lovely.
Yeah, first, I want to take a moment to thank the public, first and foremost, for their engagement, all the letters, the messages, the support. I think it's really important that we acknowledge them, and they've been an instrumental part of this process. Without sounding like I'm preaching, I just want to remind everybody that we have an oath of office to represent the region. And that was when, going back to the MOCP and my vote at that time to slow down and to listen to the public. I read through all of those notes that we got in. I just remember thinking at the time there was just a large group of people that weren't happy with that moving forward. And I think, I'm frustrated for the folks that have sort of had that uncertainty flow out of this. I was optimistic that we could, with good policy, move this forward in the right direction, but it's clear like we've just entirely missed the mark. And stopping indefinitely, I think that sends a clear message that to staff and to the public that we are putting the public first and listening to what they have to say is my most important objective. So hopefully we can get to a place where the public feels like we're enabling them and we're supporting them, but we've got a long way to go to get there. So I'm in full support of this motion. I think it's a good first step. It's first things first. And there may be other things that come out of it, but at this moment, that's where I'm at. So thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarity, though, this is not indefinitely. I don't think that's the mover's intention. He's put specific dates and milestones within this. The dates are, until after October 2026 general election, and then also with milestone of the adoption of a new board-directed corporate strategic plan. So I think just for clarity there. Director Segal.
Thank you, Chair. And again, same question. Can these be severed?
Turn to a parliamentarian. Can we split the aces? Just a blackjack scenario. So doesn't look, they look like they can stand on their own.
Could I move to sever them, please?
And seconder, so move, all those in favor of severing the two?
There's three, right?
Three, sorry.
Three parts.
Three parts? Where's the third, sorry?
I'll bring it back to you.
Sorry, I don't see three.
Just on by the semicolons.
Oh, the semicolons.
Easier if I number them?
Sure, you can just give a second to do that. Yep. Is that what you were intending?
Yes.
Okay. Those are severable if you have the will of the committee. So you have it moved and seconded. Any further discussion? You can discuss severable? We did before. So any discussion on it? Seeing none. All those in favor of severing? Those opposed? Motion is defeated. So with that, this is one motion. I'm not used to that, folks in the other room, so, but without you being here, I guess that's about the one way we know what you're doing. Be kind. So we're getting through this. So we now have a motion on the floor. We'll take the 1, 2, and 3 out, please. We've had full debate. Is there any last
So
discussion?
I'll
Yeah.
speak
to it. Director Segal, you have the floor.
Thank you. And this is what makes governance so challenging. There's elements of this motion that I completely support, and elements I'm very challenged to support because I don't have a full understanding of what's going to happen at this time. The LAPs, we just had great attended events the last 2 days. I know lots of people planning to come tomorrow night, but I guess that wouldn't happen if this moves forward. I was really looking forward to really hearing from the community on that. It would?
No board, has to go to the board. This
Oh,
has to
because
go
it
to the
has to go
board.
to the board. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
tomorrow still happens, but we're not going to see all that information compiled and presented to us of the input from community on their local area plans. Yeah, I mean, if this did impact OCP amendments, you know, in my area, there's one in particular, I'd be okay with that delay. But generally, I think, as we've heard from staff, those DPA exemptions, like, just to remind everybody, the MOCP has less DPA requirements than the previous OCP. And we have to update our DPA exemptions bylaw to allow a bunch of applications to go forward under the new exemption. This is allowing, making, you know, we've heard again and again from the development community that they want more clarity and more streamlined processes, and this is exactly that. We've heard again and again from the community, they want to do short-term rentals properly, and this is the avenue where we are allowing for that through the temporary use permits. There's even a temporary use permit in there related to RVs, you know, I think, so I can't support delay on those things. Those are very important things that should move forward, specifically in those DPAs. And from what I've heard at the, you know, today at the public input, those things are important to the community too. And I personally think the third paragraph is inappropriate. Our staff work very hard on development applications, and there are delays that are completely out of the CVRD's control. So I find that last line a bit insulting.
Sorry, I'm just gathering a couple of thoughts here because this is an important vote. I think people, well, I know what I'm feeling here around the table has some emotional content to it. And that's a piece that I try to dampen down because the important thing is to consider all pieces. And you're getting a bit of this, right? You say, oh, some pieces work, some pieces don't work. I think the issue of trust is absolutely bang on. We need the idea of complete rethink on this is there as well. I am concerned, as other directors point out, that we may have some consequences here to this decision, and maybe there will be information that comes over the next week about some of those consequences, because as much of you as people have come out and talked about how doing something like this and bringing this forward didn't appear to have a lot of thinking behind it, and it was done in a manner that really got people's backs up. I don't want the public also to be coming back and saying, did you understand all the consequences of the decision you're making? So I'm going to leave this in a way that I hope that we will say, we have this week between now and the board meeting to maybe understand that a little bit more. And because that's what we do. This is our week of not necessarily pausing or changing anything, but it's just to be fully aware of the impact of decisions we make. So with that, I would turn to the committee. I see no other directors, and I would ask that the question be...
Just to call out point clarity.
Director, hang on, Director Wilson. Sorry, I triggered.
No, that's fine.
Go ahead.
No, when it comes to the board, it will be EAD directors only voting on that.
I will turn to our parliamentarian, and he is saying yes.
Good, thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, so that's how our system works. So with that, oh, sorry, I have some other,
Sorry.
I'm getting,
Going back to the, sorry, Chair, just
Yep.
going back with regards to the MOCP, that is a board, I'm not sure
Okay.
how we.
All right. So we may have some clarification at next meeting. It doesn't affect the vote at the table. Doesn't affect the vote here, but we may have some clarification next meeting, just so you understand that there are impacts that only, some decisions are strictly these 9 directors. And there's other decisions that we have to follow government rules on when it's all 16, all directors at the table. We'll get clarity for that at the board table, but around this, yeah, we'll get clarity at the board table. This is motions on the table. Can you put it up on the screen, please, for everybody? And there's motion. Does everybody understand the motion as written? Seeing yep, I think everybody's there. So I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'll hear from the other room now. Okay, all right. All right, thank you, everybody, for patience. It's been, as a chair, I'm also responsible for breaks. I haven't taken any breaks because I thought this is the way it works. But I will like to take a 10-minute break now and then go into question period. Yes, okay? So at 3:40, we'll come back and have questions. we can actually get to question period. The video is starting, so if those in the hall want to stay there and talk, just close our doors. And
Maybe you can tell people if they want their sitting in here.
if you're in the other room, you can come forward into the gallery. We have lots of empty seats. Thank you, Director Morrison. Thank you. We are now live videoing, so as people get their seats, we're just reconvening the Special Electoral Area Services Committee of April 15th. We are on the agenda. We are at question period. Oh, bless you, Gesundheit. And is everybody in from the other room? I'm gathering they are. Okay. If not, come on over. There's few seats left. So question period, I will get our parliamentarian just to read the idea of being kind and respectful. But the other piece to this is our obligation to you as a questioner to come back with an answer if you've stumped the chair. So there were 7 questions that stumped the chair last meeting, so you'll have to bear with, because I do this first, is to read out the questions and then the response that provided. So question number 1 from Rebecca: does the CZB allow abattoirs and on-farm processing, this may take a long time, processing within the agricultural zone specifically? It is a heavy industrial use as well in many cases, generating smells and nuisance. So, but the proposed A1 zone, which is agriculture, permits abattoirs. Question from Adam: what's the rationale behind rezoning Area C, Shawnigan, and Area H in properties from R2 and R3 to R1, and how would you go about it? Permitted use of agriculture uses would be removed. Rationale was the OCP land use designations for those areas anticipate more development, infill, subdivision, and did not list agriculture, limited or otherwise, as a permitted use. Question from Adam: how is that recorded? How would you go about notifying people about how their land and how their use of land changes? Grandfathering of livestock. What will happen to people's animals? The draft CZB will be revised and may resolve most of those potential lawful nonconformities, but if a lawful nonconformity does happen, and this is, I think, important for everybody, the use can continue provided it does not cease for more than 6 months. So it's one of those things, if zoning does change sometime before 2050, maybe, that you can be grandfathered if it's something that was legally permitted. Question from Kim: rationale around the prohibition of roosters. What are the restrictions? Permitting backyard chickens in residential zones is a balance between nuisance and residential use. Roosters are considered a greater nuisance than hens due to the racket they make. Question from Lyle: during the approval period of the OCP, was there an exclusion permitted by the province to incorporate the OCP, or was there a ministerial approval given to the CVRD to enact the OCP on November 26? OCP's answer is OCPs do not require ministerial approval. Question from Lyle: if everything is in line with the approvals, would the board be willing to do assent voting for the CZB to a referendum that could be placed on the October ballot? The answer received was the board could decide to do this, but there would remain unfinished business about implementing the MOCP, which mean that the current separate zoning bylaws would all have to be amended to be compliant with the OCP. It's a legal requirement, I think we heard that today, to implement the OCP. Question from Joyce: what criteria was used to determine whether the public input would result in changes to the OCP? And can the CVRD provide examples of where community input in regards to farmers and rural living specifically directly influenced the final adopted policies? And the answer was the purpose of the public engagement on a draft bylaw such as this was to receive comments and critiques and to address those as much as the OCP would permit us to do. In 2012, the South Cowichan zoning bylaw was amended this way to permit limited agriculture under similar circumstances to those happening now. We also received another question from Joyce that was a circular question that we could not respond to. I'll read it out. Then, considering the public input was completely ignored during the OCP, why would they now consider public input, and what has changed with that last question, considering that a large portion of the community was and is completely against the modernized, highly complex OCP and completely ignored? If it's determined if there was procedural issues and errors in regards to the OCP process, what mechanisms are in place to review or address the concerns of procedural fairness? The question goes in a circle, and my apologies, Joyce, but I couldn't get to an answer. But we did have one other question from Joyce from the first meeting, and that's my apologies not to read it out last meeting. With the draft CZB, is there a zoning available for manufactured or RV parks that allow water, sewer, have full-time management year-round? The answer is there are 2 manufactured park zones in the draft CZB, one for rental pad parks, R5, and another R4 for mobile home parks that have done strata plans, usually bare land strata. So the resident owns the pad and has a small area around it, and the rest is common property. For RV parks, the C5 zone is for campgrounds and RV parks. One caretaker's home, single detached dwelling, is permitted as an accessory use in the R5 zone. The C5 zone permits 1 character suite plus 1 single detached dwelling. So thank you for those questions and for patiently having me read them, the answers. With that, so the process here, you would come up, you would ask a question. Sometimes you need to give a little context, so happily to do that. But the question should be regards to what the agenda today, and that's the CZB. But you know, within some leeway there. With that, if someone would have a question. And if you would just turn on the mic, and then your name and where you're from, thanks.
Hi, my name's Savannah Wright. I'm from Area B. My question is, so when I went on to the CVRD website and went to the little video that was suggested to watch around zoning, and then there was another one around OCP, because I was curious why we feel we have to bring all the bylaws together as one when we have places like Mill Bay and Yubo, and like, it's just like there's such different places. I don't understand why we're blanketing them all the same. And in the video, which kind of alarmed me, but they say it in such a friendly tone, is because it's confusing for staff at the CVRD, but it's also very confusing for residents to know, like, am I allowed to do this? Am I not allowed to do that? Like, where does this land, bylaw that? And then the final one was to make it easier to enforce the laws. And I'm really stuck on the tone of everything, and the enforcement angle is really concerning me. It seems like a lot. And then when people say, oh, but it's fine, just calm down, it's not really changing, it's just gonna be complaint driven, it doesn't feel that way. And so with that understanding that it's about better enforcement and confusion and whatever, I still don't understand why when you go to a specific location, Area B, from CVRD here in Duncan, and you're going out to a location, a home, a property in or in Area B, you know where you're going. That's Area B. You know in advance, this is my zone that I'm going to. These are the bylaws that apply to that area. Why do you have to know what's going on in UBO to implement a law there? I don't need to know what's going on for the bylaws in UBO for me to know what I can do on my property in my current zoning in my area. So it still doesn't resonate, like it doesn't pass the sniff test. Why? So why?
I would do my best to explain it. Maybe I may even give you an analogy. I don't know if it'll resonate or not, but Area H is just south of Nanaimo Airport. Area A goes over the Malahat and down the other side. We go all the way out, I believe Director Morrison would say, right to the west coast. So we have huge geographic area. We have a very small complaint-based bylaws process, and I think we have 3 bylaws officers. I could be corrected, but so they will have to go to where the complaints go. So I can speak to my area. They come out to say, hey, I've got a complaint. My neighbor's has a CCAN. Maybe that's a complaint. The bylaw officer needs to know if that CCAN is allowed. The bylaw officer needs to know if there's another complaint. I have a person living in a RV on a property. Is that allowed? Is that not allowed? So some of them are universal. They're right across all the electoral areas. Other of them are very, and this is the thing, very specific to, for example, prohibited uses. All different in all areas. And if one of the things about my area, Area H, our prohibited uses are probably 20. No, even less than that. It's like half the page. But you go to other areas and the prohibited uses are double. And so as a bylaw officer, you not only have to know which are the prohibited uses and which are not before you even walk on the property. So I can see from a perspective of confusion, what you could say you could do in your property and what I could say and do in my property in 2 different areas. If we have the same property, could be very different. So I think if I was a bylaw officer and I put myself in their shoes, it would be a lot to have to do because you got 9 areas. So I hope that, I don't know if that answers your question.
It doesn't clarify anything that basically I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, this is really frustrating.
Okay.
It doesn't actually clarify anything. It just states what was said, that there's confusion and it streamlined that. But I can tell you right now, I'm not comfortable giving up more of my rights, my property rights, to make it less confusing for someone's job. If they want to do their job well, then they can look at the bylaw for the place they're going to. I am not giving up my property rights, rezoning my area so that I cannot build my dream home so that my children can have a future on our property. We bought raw land a few years ago. We built our secondary house first because it was too expensive to build our first home first, and this would screw that all up. Right. There's more to it than that, but that is a huge one for me. And so I am not willing to give up my rights to make someone's job easier. Right. I don't care.
Yeah. So
I just don't.
I would love to have a conversation, and maybe we should have it afterwards. But
sure,
this is really.
Sorry,
yeah, I know.
Sorry,
it's the
no.
process
I appreciate the one-on-one, but this is so much past that now. Yeah. Everybody, I am not the only person that feels this way or has this concern, and so when we can have these questions in a setting like this, where more people can hear, or maybe they've never even thought of that, and they're like, "Holy crap, what?" That's what's happening because there's a whole lot of misinformation going on, right? So the one-on-one is might make one person feel a little bit better, but what about the rest of the people here? So I'm not actually interested so much on the one-on-one.
Well, you let me answer?
I will now, but I just wanted to let you know where I feel about that.
I should give you the button here.
You can take the button back. That's okay.
And the only reason, because our structure of our system is awkward. This is an awkward conversation because this should not be a conversation. The idea is public input. I sit here and listen and don't say anything. Mm-hmm. Public question period is you ask me a question and then I answer it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do like it, you do like it. It isn't really to have a conversation. And the idea is to record that and have that part of the public realm, right? Because this conversation is being recorded. So that's our process. So the one-on-one is because I'd love to talk to you more. But I have a number of people that will want to ask questions, and I want to honor that as well. But so you've had one.
Cool.
And I'd love you to have a second one. And I'll try to
I'm
answer
sure you
it, but
would.
yeah.
Okay. So I kind of have to, well, so personally, I would love for the CZB to go away in entirety. And I would love for us to not put all of our bylaws together. And I would love for us to, now that we're aware of the CZB, and it's true, some people said like, oh, it's not a big deal. This stuff has literally been in there forever. It's just coming over to the other side. Guess what? We're just realizing that we could possibly get charged $50,000 a day per infraction. No, I know that that's extreme.
No, a question, please.
I'm getting to the question.
Hope so.
But I know that that's extreme, but it's possible. And there's a lot of vagueness in this draft, and it makes me uncomfortable. So there's a lot that needs to be amended in our current bylaws, and I would love for us to all work on that as a community. My question, sorry, that didn't actually go up to a question. I'm curious if the board will actually all read the Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 blueprints that Speaker David Pink brought up earlier today and asked if you would, but obviously it was comment period, so there was no responding. But I would really appreciate knowing who is actually taking that seriously, or if they're still thinking it's a tinfoil hat kind of situation, because it ain't.
So I can't speak for any other director. I can't, and I can't.
Are they not allowed to speak through you to me?
No.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, and so, my response is, that's an individual director decision, and it's actually not specific to the CZB. I do
That's true.
understand, yeah, so.
That's true. I would
so
really
you-
appreciate if anyone does read it,
Yeah,
that they
okay.
allow us to know on their social media account that they cared enough to.
All right,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. So that was about, I think, 7 minutes. So at this rate, no, don't be, please. This is not about being sorry. I'm just trying to pace the afternoon. So, and I appreciate it. I think coming to the podium, I mentioned it before, it takes courage, and and I appreciate anybody that does that. So who would like to come next? I think this is. State your name and where you're from, please.
David Pink.
And then, yeah, if you can get to the questions pretty
David Pink, Area E. And I know you said this needs to be about the CZB, but I'm going to ask my first question, and if it's out of line, then it's out of line. Okay. I've done a lot of research into the MOCP, and we're the only regional district in British Columbia that did an MOCP, because it's actually designed for municipalities. So if we had an OCP, we wouldn't be under the guidelines to do the 5-year and 20-year thing on housing. We'd be under a 5-year plan on housing. So I want to know why we did an MOCP, and I'm happy to have that answer emailed to me and not take up anybody else's time. What I would like to know is, in regard to the preparation and formulation of the CZB, what direction was given to the staff as guidance under how to do it, and who gave them that direction?
So, okay, let me see. Yeah, I think there's 2 parts to your question.
Yeah.
So the first part is the board provides staff direction. So if you look back into our meeting minutes to, I think, early 2025, you will see the Electoral Services Committee had a project charter in front of them, and that project charter was given the green light to go ahead. We do governance. We do not do operations. And so that staff take that and they move ahead with it. That came back up in February of this year, and we looked at it again, and we adjusted the timelines and I think also there's the flow of what happens within the project charter. And I will tell you right now, and I've said this at Area H recently at a town hall, that I miss that we put the draft bylaw ahead of public engagement on the second round. We did the farmers first, the first round, and then and the APCs, but I missed that we were doing the draft bylaw before the engagement. That's, if anybody's to say, well, who's accountable, I would have no further than go to look in the mirror. And I just completely missed that. That is, I think that is a difficult, well, I want to get into it. Why those things happen, I can tell you, but yeah, I own that. As a director, if I'm not speaking for other directors.
Okay, my second question is, where did they get, what is the basis of information that they used to come up with a draconian plan they came up with?
Basis, I'm not sure, you have to give me context.
Well, the context on why a wharf can only be used to moor about, on why you can't have an RV, on why you have to have your licensed vehicle license or your vehicle license,
okay,
like all that stuff. Where did they get that information from? Because I've been researching online because so much of this stuff is cookie cutter. But I'd like to know where they got the basis of that information to put it in enactment in a bylaw for all of us.
So my understanding of the process is that we have 7 electoral area OCPs, zoning bylaws, sorry. And the concept was bring them together and bring that as a draft. So many of these things are not, I would say, they're written already. If I look at my OCP in Area H, there are many things in Area H OCP that are exactly what's in the in this larger amalgamation. So it's really it's an amalgamation of them is what they brought forward. So that's where it came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you. Hi. Thanks for waiting all day.
Hello again. Hi, I'm Kyle, Area B. Question I have pressing right now is, I didn't attend the first hearing that was 4 or 6 hours, whatever that was, and I heard some directors complaining that it was long, and that surprised me. It's your duty, it's your job. I'm also surprised when I hear about people saying that the city staff will put so much time in, that's their job. And I can say this because I used to be a fire safety codes officer with the Calgary Fire Department. And I know what those roles are like, and I know how much we have to learn. And it's not that much. I mean, you have to learn it, you apply it, you have books that help you. My question is, as I've been sitting through these processes and I attended the commercial and industrial discussion, I frequently heard from the staff that the word permissive, they were trying to be more permissive with commercial and with industrial. And I thought, that's great. I mean, it sounds wonderful. I'm really curious why that same approach isn't put forward towards the residential. I don't see permissiveness. I don't see them going, wow, there's hundreds of you, maybe thousands of you living in RVs and park models. I mean, that is the Cowichan Valley. How can we be more permissive to help you with that so we can help your life? So I'm really curious if all of you will use a permissive approach towards a residential aspect, especially towards RVs, park models, and even intentional communities. Why is that not supported? So would you look at that? And I'm sure we'll have some processes where we can provide that information. But from the get-go, that is who we are. And so I'd like to see that permissive approach brought forward to residential, and could that be applied?
Well, I think we're hearing it really clearly. I think an approach like that is something that has to come up through the process of engaging with the community, because that's the piece. If that's what the community wants, then that's what the community should receive. And so I think that's, to answer your question, that's how I would do it and approach it with my community. Give me your ideas, give me your thoughts. We'll put it on paper. Is that reflecting what you think is permissive? Like, I think that's the other piece, because one person's permissive might be the other person's restriction. So where's the line? And I think that's the important thing to distinguish. I just want to make a little comment. I do appreciate that we here have a job. We chose to do this job. Staff come and choose to do a job. But there is a third component here, and that's about the public. And Do we all do our job? Because there's a piece out there, and I'm hearing it now, and you guys are doing your job. But I want you to keep doing it, right? So that's my hope and wish going forward. So, but thank you for those. Was that 2 questions?
No, that was one question,
Okay.
I think.
Thank you.
But
I tried.
I'll ask my second question if I can.
Yes, please.
And I would just like to reiterate that I would really like everyone here to realize that the Cowichan Valley is made up of people in RVs, in park models, and that is the next step up from many people being on the streets. And so we need to look at how can we foster that? How can we bring that forward? How can we embrace that? How can we love that? How can we respect that?
Right.
And I think that is the foundation of the Cowichan Valley. So I just want to highlight that again.
Right.
So if the staff can really put that forward, that's my question is, will they put that in their mind forward so that that's a key part?
Right. Well, I think, again, we need to reflect the voices of people out there, and it has to be everybody's voice. So that's one of them. I would encourage you never to stop.
Okay.
Please, never stop.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm Matt Duplin, and I just have a question about amalgamating these bylaws and the addition of the restrictions that go on top, like land use, like parcel coverage, being reduced from 30 to 10% on property that we bought, that we pay taxes on, that we've worked with our own hands. And I understand these bylaws were kind of just brought in and amalgamated, but who was at the pen and is writing this and saying, oh man, like this is really going to screw with people's lives? Like, is there nobody that stopped that? And I'll just finish because I'll lose my train of thought here. Like this is probably my scariest part of this CZB is why were there no internal alarm bells sounded? This is so insane. And then, and like, yeah, anyways, you can answer that one.
Yeah, I think if I could, have a magic wand, I'd wave this all differently, and I think we're going to learn and find a way path forward because it's really about listening. The ability to listen is imperative before you get to solving anything. So that's the job, but I do believe I would encourage you. I don't know which area you're from.
B.
Right. Have you got the zoning bylaws, the current ones?
I know them through and through.
Okay, yeah, because there's a lot of commonality. I'm pointing out there's a lot of commonality, but you are right. There are things that are added in there, and that took the 8 hours that we spent. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. We spent 8 hours because it took us to get through that document to try to understand, like, what is this about? And it, it's paused. You guys made your points really loud and clear, and I appreciate those.
I guess you're hearing a lot more just because we are trying to drive it home so clearly. And, I understand you guys are all in the hot seat over this, but imagine the seat that we're in fighting for our lives and our futures when this isn't even our job or our expertise and we're just coming to know how it all works.
Okay.
It scares the shit out of us.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Benson. We own property in Area D and live in North Cowichan. The word that comes to my mind listening to these young people is this process has become oppressive. And the word that comes to me also is why and how did our local government agencies start, when and how did they give so much weight and credence to complaint-driven action? Complaint-driven. And you stop and you think about that for a minute. And of course, in my background experience, I've heard a lot about different, bylaw does this, bylaw does that. But when you have a grandmother phone up and say, we got a call from the local government that my grandson who's living in the trailer behind his home, next door to my home, both widows, both grandma's a widow in her 90s and her daughter-in-law also widowed. And the son who's 20, 21, living in a trailer out behind his mom and grandma's area. They each have separate property. Using his mother's washroom, bathroom, can't live there anymore. That gave those women security, comfort, peace, and he was there to help them as a family. What we're hearing is all of these examples and stories. Somebody in the area phoned and complained, and that gave them the drive to go and get heavy-handed. I'm questioning the complaint-driven aspect of this process. I'll use the word process. I think that needs to be investigated. I do believe that so grandma phoned me because I'm her niece.
But you have a question then?
Yes, I do. Could it be possible for the complaint-driven aspect of this system to be revisited, whereby people, when they get that kind of a call, they have someone to talk to? I'm not going to call it an ombudsman, but just somebody that they can actually go to that represents the people and have someone to talk to and say, this is what's happening. This isn't just your rules and your laws. So my question is, the complaint-driven aspect of this system is really oppressive, very threatening, not working well, and I'm asking, can that be changed? And
Can I answer that one first?
Yeah, could you? Thank you.
So I've heard a lot of the opposite, that complaint-based is the way that a lot of people want. They know what their property rights are, and if they have a problem with a neighbor doing something that's not within the property rights, they don't want that. They have an avenue to do something. I would say it's not the first avenue. I would say your first avenue is reach over the fence and say, hey, can we talk? And I've encouraged that in my community. The other opposite side of complaint-based is probably the one thing that I've heard a lot about is, are they looking for it? They're coming on my property, they're driving down the road, they're looking for it. That's not what we have. We have an idea that if you can't resolve it between neighbors and you know that you have an issue because of the bylaws, this is what you bought your property for, and your neighbor's now doing something that's not within that, you have an opportunity to go that route. So but this is the thing is, this is driven from you, from everybody here. This is really, if you want something different than that, bring it forward because we are here to listen. So yeah.
So, and my real question with that is, how in the world did a young man living in a trailer and right out his mom's back door bother anybody? So that's my point. I think a lot of the complaints that are registered are made up. I think they're just because people got nothing else to do and they're being busybodies. That really is part of my question is, where is the verification of it being a true complaint? That would be part of that initiative. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Like qualifying this complaint to be realistic and right, like that angle to it. So I'll leave that as a double question. Okay, and on your other earlier, when you were saying the questions from Joyce, and I was thinking, oh, that wasn't me, but it was me. So can I actually get copies of that in your answers at some point?
And it's written out, and yes, I can get you a copy.
Pardon me?
I can get you a copy.
That'd be much appreciated.
Okay. Right.
Thank you so much.
Joyce.
We're moving towards solutions, y'all.
Okay. All right, who's next? Please state your name and where you're from.
Hi, Kim Bernard, Area B, Shawelican, Shawnigan Lake. My question is about accessibility and fairness. So with public engagement, I noticed only the tech-savvy people were able to really figure out what the new zoning looked like. And I was getting calls from people who was like, help me access this map. It's not running on my device, and so on. So my question would be, in this process, can it either be made easier, maybe through a hotline or something like that, a trusted source where people can call in, they can see, be told what their zoning is now, be told what it could be proposed, and most importantly, the fairness so that everyone is reached, because the people behind us, the people who've been here all day, are the people that got the message, but I suspect out of the thousands of people in the CVRD that we're just a small percentage. And I know most of us have mailing addresses and other ways, like CVRD used to do, well, for billing, for example, anything like that. They know where to find us. So how come we weren't told this in a letter specific to our situation? That's my question, Mr. Chair.
No, I think every time you feel that there's something that's not getting communicated out, we need to hear that, because if we don't know it's not happening, how do we improve? So what I'm hearing you say is, if we get more mail outs, if we get more individual kind of contact, the communication will improve.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, how can we make it more fair?
Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Ruth Waddell from Cowichan Station, and first of all, I'd like to thank the directors that supported the will of the people and voted for Director Morrison's motion. And my question is, will that come up again on the 22nd, and what format? And is there any risk that that motion could be then overturned?
Two parts. So yes, it comes up as exactly written here on the 22nd of April. And what happens, it comes up in a report, committee report to the board. So it's very early on in the agenda. So if you're looking for it, look at the agenda and look under reports, special electoral area services committee meeting, April 15th. And then as a chair, I give that report out. What's process is any director can pull an item for further discussion and voting on it. If they don't pull it, then we vote on it as is, and typically that's meaning we're all ready to move it forward. So yes, the answer is it could be pulled, it could be discussed further. So until it's approved at the board level, it's not final.
So just a point of clarification, that will just be our directors that are voting for that?
That's what that's certainly I will have to get back to you on that, because that was the same question we had at the very end of our meeting about which aspects of that motion may have to require the entire board. I am not sure of that answer, so I'll get back to you on that, but I won't read that out until the next Electoral Area Services Committee meeting, so I'm not sure. I'll look to staff to see. I don't know. You'll have to wait for that meeting. We'll clarify it at that meeting.
So that means we all have to come out again?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. So yes, I don't have the answer to one, so I don't have the answer to two. So, yeah. And who are you and where are you from?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name's Susan Kaufman, and I'm from Salem. I had a question in regards to the motion that was approved today, and specifically, the question was asked about the meetings, the LAP meetings that are to happen tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my understanding from the conversation that they will go ahead. My question is, what about the LAP meetings that are scheduled for May 19th? In Lake Cowichan area, but for area F and I.
Mm-hmm. So my understanding is that until there's a board decision, this is a recommendation. Once a board decision is made, then it's up to staff to take that direction. And so if that includes canceling that, then that's what happens. So, but we have to wait. This is a step-by-step process. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So potentially, the residents of area F and I will not see that,
Potentially.
where all the other areas are going to have been able to have access to the information and to the staff and the public meeting. That's my point.
Yep.
My second question is, we heard from Ms. Breen earlier that they were just waiting to have these LAP meetings conducted and receive the feedback, and then would require a month to wrap that project up. If you don't allow the area F and I meetings to go ahead, what effect will that have on wrapping that project up?
Well, if you read the motion strictly as it is, I think things pause. as of April 22nd. So that's how I read this motion. And yeah, there may be more clarity later, but that's my understanding.
So would that extend the cost of the project down the road?
I would have to get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
Okay. That was question 3, by the way.
That was question 3.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Kim Horsley, Area G.
Right.
I just have a follow-up to the lady's question about the April 22nd meeting and the fact we're unsure what board will be able to vote on it. So if it's not this board of directors, can you just clarify what board of directors it would be? Like it's either one or the other, but what is the other?
So this is a committee of the board. So, but we are electoral services, and it's kind of a confusing situation, so thank you for the question. The board is 16 members made up of municipalities and electoral areas that make up the Cowichan Valley Regional District. And so, but the electoral areas are separate, and we deal with our own services and our own things. And municipalities do the same thing at their place, deal with their own issues and land services separately. So when we have something here that is specifically only electoral area issue or falls under our authority, we actually do a dual kind of a process where we recommend it to the board and then we vote on it at the board only ourselves. So it's almost like 1, 2, and it's done. But that's our local government requirement. But if there's something that may, typically it's around money, like if the municipalities have to put in money for something that we are doing, then they get it. Just like you think about it, yeah, they should have a say in it. So I think we're unsure about, because it's a very broad motion. It's talking CZB, which is us, but it's also talking about LAPs and DPAs and I think particularly the MOCP. And so that we weren't 100% sure because it's a very broad brush and whether there was a financial perhaps question that has to get answered. So I don't know if it's a long answer to get to it in that we rely on our parliamentarian and we rely on staff to say this is the vote that comes from our electoral areas and this is a vote. You will see it on the agenda though. So when you see that will help you. Maybe that will help you. When you look at the agenda, you will see electoral area directors only. You know, but I don't know if we'll see it on. So when we look at an agenda, you would see that. Yeah. So it would say under agenda, go to the Special Electoral Area Services Committee report. I will give that report, and under it, it will say if it's a EA director only vote or if it's a all directors vote. So yeah, thank you for that because now you made me think through the process. It will be clarified on that agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So just to follow up on what she asked you, David Pink, Area E. So I understand that the process when it's an all vote is a weighted vote.
If it's financial, my understanding.
Only if it's financial.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Pardon? Among other, I guess among other decisions can be weighted too. So yes, I wish it was just black and white.
Can you explain the weighted vote thing though, so we have an understanding?
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of getting away from the agenda, but I'll give you a quick idea. It's population-based, so the more population you have, basically the more votes you get. I think I get 2. So Area H is not very populated. So, but yeah, so it's. I mean, this is almost a lesson in sort of civics a little bit, and so I'm hoping this is helpful because I do believe that this is. This engagement is sort of the beginning of what we're going to do. I'm not seeing anybody else at the podium, and I want to we'll move to the end, but it's going to be very quick, and all of a sudden it's over. Thank everybody for bringing your ideas, your thoughts, your concerns, your passion, and I think maybe your hope. So forward. So with that, motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned. Meeting is over. So.